the Vincent Van Gogh definitely didn't kill himself.
I know, and
Oh
it's
wait,
just
I
so
haven't heard.
sad.
I haven't heard this conspiracy theory. We are
No, it's
live,
not a
by the way.
conspiracy theory. It's just like literally what happened, and we just
It's
ignored ignored the evidence because we like the idea of the tortured artist so much for some
Well, okay,
reason.
well, tell me about it. Let me make my own
Well,
decision.
literally, it's like so the day that he
Don't just
kills
virtue
himself, he
signal
takes
at
all
me.
of his shut the fuck up, Jackson. He takes all of his painting stuff and he goes to this field and he paints for a super long time. And then he comes
yeah,
home and he's bleeding and he's like, "Yo, get me a doctor." And they get him a doctor and he dies in bed after they get him medical help. And the whole thing is that he had a relationship with these like scallywag kind of like rambunctious boys who would do stuff all the time. And so the theory is that one of the boys got a gun and accidentally shot him, and Vincent Van Gogh didn't want to get the boy in trouble because those boys were gone. So like, there's a whole watch the BuzzFeed Unsolved about it.
yeah.
They
There's a
explain the
whole
whole thing.
BuzzFeed Unsolved.
Yeah,
But
it's
even if he
like
did kill himself, like all that, like he died tragically and thought that his whole life was a failure and he was a
yeah,
burden on his family
Right.
and that his art was terrible. And it's just really nice to see a fake version of Vincent van Gogh being taken into a museum dedicated to him and seeing this curator who knows all about art and he's like, Vincent van Gogh is the best artist who's ever lived. It just makes me cry.
And it's Bill Nye.
It's Bill Nye.
Keisha, are you using your AirPods mic still?
I'm not.
Are you
But
mega sure?
for wait, what? For which one?
For Discord.
I am for Discord.
Can you
Do you
change it?
want me
Because
to
that's what's
use
coming
it?
through in the stream too. If you could change it to your laptop mic, it sounds a mucho better.
Okay.
we've been live this whole time.
Oops.
Yes, we have.
Wait, hold
Live.
on. How long have we been live for? What's
Since
going on?
since the time
Where
when
am I?
we were slated to go live.
What? Usually you say something like, "Hey, stop making 9/11 jokes. It's time to stream."
Also, by the way,
But
we're
today you
live.
just went for it.
Yeah, I like it better when we're just candid.
Oh dear. Like that's terrifying.
But you'll know because it'll be 5 o'clock. When it is 5 o'clock, it means we're live, mofo.
But I didn't. It didn't happen like that.
So wait, I have a question.
Yeah,
what if I said
fire
something
away.
really problematic?
So do I change the output or the input?
I think you've already succeeded.
Okay, well when I did it, you guys sounded like little robot mice.
Okay. So when
So I'm
you
gonna try.
wait, currently we sound like little robot mice.
I switched it back to default because I got scared.
You gotta you gotta change the input to your, I guess, your laptop
Scared of
mic.
what's happening.
Okay, that's what I thought. But maybe maybe there's a little flaw in the matrix. I'll change it.
Do 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 do. Ba ba bow.
Good
I
content.
can't hear anybody, and they sound like robot mice.
Are right currently?
Right now, real life.
Come again.
Can you
Well,
hear? Are you there?
Hello?
Was I there? Or were you there?
Just tell us what's going on, Keisha.
Change it to the MacBook Air microphone. You sound like little robot mice, so I can't hear anything you say. It's just like.
Changing your input should not change what we sound like.
Okay, I'm gonna try it again, but it happens every time.
Okay.
Sounds fake, but I'll try it.
Here, Adeline,
Yes.
can you please tell me the plot of the first episode of Riverdale so I can test this out?
No, I don't know. Is it the
Give me your
wait.
best shot.
So what I remember of the first episode of Riverdale, we open up and there's two ginger kids by a river, and one of them is a girl, one of them is a boy, and they're both wearing white. It's like the opening shot of Twilight, except the deer is two very, very pale teens, and they're very hot, and they're definitely not 25. And then we go to school.
So
'cause
wait,
it's
so wait.
time.
This is all I heard. This is what I heard. So we open up, and they're definitely all 25.
They're not
I
hot
tried-
teens. Those are like creepy weird they're like creepy twin siblings, right? Like in
But
Jessica
they're like
Jones.
alluring, you know. It's Riverdale, Jackson. Everybody can get it. That's the whole point.
Okay.
Okay, so then we go to school, and it's school time, and Jonesy and the Pussycats kill a cop and kid with red hair.
That's not
fucks
true.
his
Take this
teacher.
seriously.
Okay, so we get there. All I remember is that teacher and kid like make eye contact, and they like remember that they have an affair,
Right.
which is weird. And then we meet Jonesy and the Pussycats, and they're like, "Hey, can I join your band?" And they're like, "No, fuck you. You're not a hot babe."
Why do you keep
And
saying
then-
Jonesy and the Pussycats?
I'm saying Jonesy and the Pussycats, so I don't know what's going on. Then we go to a diner because it's the 50s, and Jughead says, "I'm weird. Look at me. I got a hat." And then
I don't think that's in the
Uh,
pilot.
it's on the pilot. They definitely go to the diner in the pilot.
I don't think he
and
says I'm
then-
weird, I'm a weirdo until you get deeper into
And
it.
then the girl with
No,
the
he
black
says it every
hair,
episode.
It's Veronica and Betty's the blonde one, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Betty's the blonde
like
one,
Betty's,
and
like-
Veronica's the bad girl.
Oh, I thought Betty was like the cheerleader bitch who like tethers the school or
No.
something.
I think that's Cheryl.
I don't
But
know
also
who the fuck
Cheryl's brother
Cheryl
does.
is. I just
Cheryl-
remember Veronica like calls somebody like a whore or something because it's Riverdale, so they're all just swearing all the time and calling each other sluts. That's it. That's all I remember from the first
Cool,
episode
cool.
of Riverdale.
Keisha, how's your audio situation?
Fixed it.
Cool, perfect.
Cool. I'm glad that I've
Um,
been used for content.
Give me just 1 minute more, and then maybe we can. Oh no, we still got a hot second to just hang out. What's up,
Anybody
folks in the
here?
chat?
Yeah,
what's
where
up?
is it?
Happy
There's-
New Year's, 2021.
2021.
Hey, everybody, what did you get for Christmas, Keisha?
What didn't I get?
Oh, wow. Goody
I got a
two-shoes.
Chemex for Christmas.
What is
My
that?
dad, it's like a fancy pour over coffee thing. My dad got me something called a music hat, which is a toque or a beanie that plays music,
Oh.
Headphones in it?
which is so
For
sweet,
what
but also
purpose?
like it would have been so nice to have and never because there have always been like headphones that exist.
Yeah.
Oh, so there's like speakers on the inside, so you
There's
you are
speakers on
listening
the
to music.
inside of the
I thought
hat.
you were saying it just played music from your head that it could just for anyone to enjoy.
No. It's a hat that plays music.
Okay. I see. I kind of like that actually because I got headphones that hurt my ear holes when I put
you
a
all
hat on.
remember the sweatshirts that the drawstrings had headphones at the end of them, so you would stick the end
Yeah,
of your drawstrings into
those
your
were
ear?
Oh,
cool.
yeah.
I think we should
But
bring
you
those
just
back.
look like a dumbass.
No, I thought that was
No,
cool.
it was a way to, it was a really good way to be like, I'm not listening to music
I just
during
have my
history
sweatshirt string
class.
in my hand, and it's blasting Uptown Funk.
No,
people
this was before Uptown Funk. Uptown Funk was just a
Sorry.
gleam
This
in
was
Bruno
like-
Mars's eye at this point.
This was like when Jason Derulo
Yeah.
owned the scene. Vi-
I put my
version
hands
one.
up in the
Version.
air sometimes,
Oh,
singing "Hey Yo, gotta let go." And
or
your
like
headphones
Black Eyed
are-
Peas
Yeah.
exclusively.
Yeah. You know,
Or what?
when I think of Black Eyed Peas, all I can think of is that one line from I think it's "Get It Started, Hot, Get It Started in Here," where he's like,
Mhm, and running.
yeah, and he's like, "Oh, when I bust a rhyme, you break your neck." I just think it's really good. when he says
Think about
it.
it all the
Is it
time.
Apple to App who says that?
I don't know. I guess I can't tell them apart
What are you talking about?
by their voices. I
The
mean,
Black Eyed Peas looks the same to me.
well, okay. Then, and Keisha, do you know who says "When I bust a rhyme, you break your neck"? Do you know who that guy
I
is?
know.
Yeah,
It's probably Apple the App though. Sounds
I
like
know.
it.
I know. Will I am. I know Fergie. I
Oh,
know Apple
the
the app.
that's him.
I know Apple the app now because you just said it. Who's the fourth
Yeah, I
guy?
was about to say I have never heard of that person before.
You've never heard of Apple the App?
Who's the weird guy who dances?
You.
Is that Apple the app?
No, Apple the App is the small one.
Who's the guy who's got the super long hair and
it's
dresses
really
in like
rude.
tinfoil
Taboo,
suits?
I'm pretty sure.
Taboo.
It's Taboo.
That's not as funny.
He looks like a scary, like he looks like he's probably a phantom, or like he will be one. He's just getting ready.
Right, he's
in the
destined.
future or the past.
Oh, whoa.
Oh.
So hey, before we get started with the recorded podcast, I just want to say, we've been kind of blowing the H up in the last few weeks.
Yeah,
Since the last time we
600.
streamed, we've got a solid like 300 more subscribers than we did previously. And that's
And only
sick as
half
hell.
of them are bots.
I don't know. Don't say that to me.
I'm just kidding.
But and you know that doesn't necessarily always translate into these podcasts, but I'm sure there's a handful of people like Spook Show Reviews, for instance, who are here for the first time, and that's just super exciting because
show reviews.
we've been doing this for a super long time. Adeline and I have been doing this for 2 years.
I know it's
and
really been a long haul. You
Keisha's
guys.
been
Yeah,
doing
exactly.
this for
Keisha.
almost 6
2
weeks.
months.
And we're just, I don't know, it's cool, it's fun, it's so cool to be getting some traction, and it's always exciting to see somebody who we don't know personally show up in the chat. That's just it's something that has not been happening for us previously, and it's cool to have take place. So thanks, I just wanted to say that, just genuinely thanks for hanging around.
And now Keisha is actually in the art that we have.
Yeah.
Me, I look just like that.
Yeah.
And we're ignoring Anna because she's trolling me on purpose because she's so
Be-
rude to me.
Lol.
Can't believe you do this. Anna's being toxic.
And it's
We need
being
to
If
so
you-
toxic, she's pretending, she's cyberbullying me by pretending she doesn't know who I am.
If you did an Arrested Development cut to Anna right now, she'd be dabbing.
What?
You know.
You know, you'd be like, like, oh, Anna in the chat. It should be. Then you'd hear Ron Howard's voice.
People in the
Keisha's
chat.
watching Arrested Development and assumes that we all have also been.
Why are
um,
you watching Arrested Development?
People in the chat, super quick. How do we sound? How are the levels? Is anybody too loud or too quiet? It is hard for us to know because it's tricky to hear it while
Well, isn't
still.
it just what you hear, Jackson?
No. Well, because I don't know what I sound like. It is what I hear for you two, but I don't know what I
Oh.
sound like in relationship to you two. Because sometimes I'm super loud and you guys are quite quiet.
Are you sure that's not just what you're like?
Well, but even if that is what I'm like, I need to be compensating for that. It's called
Even if I am screaming, that's not my fault.
it's called professionalism.
Yeah.
That sounds fine. Lots of love.
LOL. Winky face.
Sometimes
yes.
I wish I was a
Emoji.
50-year-old woman, you know? Like, I
Right.
feel like I just thrive more in that kind of situation.
Right. I'm
Yeah.
just scarred because like that one time when we did that Terminator episode and we sounded so bad and for no reason we got like 150
Yeah.
views. And this,
That's however how people will know.
There was
Yeah.
a reason, because it was applicable to the situation we are currently in. In that.
Yeah, I mean it was election week, but what does Terminator 2 have to do with that? I'd love for you to elaborate, Keisha.
Here's why.
Okay.
Because get your conspiracy hats on, because
Got it.
I'm gonna
It's
tell
been
you
on.
right now.
Uh-huh, mhm.
I'm gonna tell you
Captain.
right now. Here's the reason why. Because Joe Biden has actually been Arnold Schwarzenegger in disguise this whole time,
Whoa.
and here's
He's been
why.
Governor of California.
Because Arnold Schwarzenegger has been living a double life in that he has perfected his American accent, specifically centering in on Delaware. And he said, I know I will never become the president because I'm from Austria.
Leading a double life as he cheated on his wife. So I mean,
But exactly.
Yeah,
And
just more
everyone was
proof.
like, oh my God, I really want Arnie, he'd be a great president. We all know because he's played the president in they made fun of him playing the president in the Simpsons movie.
Right.
So they're like, actually, that seems great. Especially compared to He Who Shall Not Be Named. I'm not gonna say my political opinion on the internet.
wait, who? Voldemort?
Okay.
What exactly? And so they're like, okay, so we're living in a pandemic world. I wish that we had a giant bubble over us like they did
Like in the Simpsons
in
movie.
the Simpsons movie. We need Arnold Schwarzenegger. Arnold Schwarzenegger can't be president. Travel
We
back in
can't
time.
have that big
Kill
bubble
Joe
unless
Biden.
he's president.
So you're saying
All this to
that
say-
Arnold Schwarzenegger became inverted, and he traveled
Mhm.
back to I guess approximately 2010. No, he was vice president in 2008, so probably like 2005.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
maybe there was a real Joe Biden, but he has been killed.
Yeah. Yes,
And
this is what I'm saying.
Arnold Schwarzenegger spent all the time he was inverted working his way backwards, slimming down, and now the Joe Biden is Arnold Schwarzenegger, but a
Have you
future
ever seen
version.
Joe Biden and Arnold Schwarzenegger in the same room
I-
touching each other? No, because they would implode.
They would destroy the universe.
There's just 2 Arnold Schwarzeneggers in
too
our
hot for
timeline
TV.
currently.
Is this funny?
I don't.
It's not funny. It's the truth.
It's the
Serious,
truth. Okay. I'm gonna pop open audition. I think I'm ready to begin.
Okay, well, I guess Jackson speaks for all of us.
We usually fuck
Then-
around for 15 minutes, and it has been 16.
And it's been 16. 16
Listen, I
beautiful
set the
minutes.
timer. Mom says it's my turn on the Xbox.
What do I look like? Tenet? What do I look like? Somebody who's just made out of time? No. I only get to live
Somebody
in one
who's just made out of time.
Yeah, that's what this movie's about, right?
I don't think they're made out of time. We
Watch
should
this
record
movie
this
once.
though. It's
I'm
gold.
pretty sure that's what it's about.
Hey, shout out to Matthew Clark in the chat too. I think you've been around before, but I don't know. I just like shouting out people because I'm just excited to have people watching.
Jackson just like shouty.
I do.
For
I
the
just
chat.
Matthew Clark.
That was scary.
Spook Show
Here's my question for
reviews.
the chat. Here's my question for the chat. What's the best food to make out of peanut butter? This is because Jackson can't eat peanuts.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, give me some examples of foods you can make out of peanut butter, Keisha.
Peanut butter cookies, peanut butter cups, peanut butter fudge, peanut sauce for Thai food or other such dipping.
Jackson, you just got fucking schooled.
Peanut butter. You could put peanut butter in like a little vegetable soup. I've done that before. It
Okay.
like adds a little creamy,
We're
nutty.
pushing the
Peanut
boundaries on
soup's
what
actually
made
very-
of peanut butter means, but I'll allow it.
It's including peanut butter.
Okay.
Have you seen there was like that scary spooky Halloween show on Netflix a few years ago. I don't remember what it's called, but they made bones out of bones out of frozen peanut butter and pretzels.
That sounds wonderful. What do you say we start a podcast?
Stopped when they made bones out of peanut butter? You made
It was like
bones?
a spooky treat. It was like a spooky treat to eat.
Spooky, they made bones.
I'm trying to find a good way to tastefully place that Pompeii
Yeah, I
carving.
noticed it kind of floating around.
I was like,
for a
can I
while.
put this anywhere that looks nice? Where it looks kind of classy? But I couldn't make it happen. But I don't know. We'll get into it. Okay, I've got audition open.
Hold on, I want to say
Ready?
I want one more anecdotal story that's nothing to do with everything.
Okay.
So, on
That's
TikTok,
everything to do with
there
nothing.
was this cake decorator lady, and she made this cute little piano cake, and she made a keyboard out of it, and it was very cute. And the comments fucking destroyed her because the piano had the wrong number of keys. Like, just fucking annihilated her.
Get
So if
fucked.
one person says anything about the keyboard that I drew above Jackson, I am exiting the Discord call.
Wait, let me take a look at it. One sec.
Listen, I'm
That was
just
the
saying-
Oh
most
no, yeah,
problematic
no,
thing
it's
in the world.
it's tremendously not correct.
Yeah, no, I wasn't trying to make it correct, but
Okay.
it
It's
reads
an
as a
artistic
piano.
rendering.
Yeah,
And
alright,
that's
I
all-
guess.
yeah,
What does
I
a
took some artistic
harpsichord look
license.
like?
RoboCop,
Was
on the
it-
other hand, looks exactly perfect.
Officer Murphy. He looks excellent. I can't wait
A
to do
little bit like
RoboCop this
Homestar
year.
Runner, and it's perfect.
This is
he
my
kinda
impression of
does.
this is what my impression of that RoboCop sounds like. Your move, creep.
To me, it's dead or alive. You're coming with me.
I think I reinvented Homestar Runner on accident.
Yeah.
Well,
Yo,
that's
move,
good because
creep.
Flash is out of here,
Yo,
so
move,
we don't
creep.
have Homestar Runner anymore.
Yeah, fuck. What's up with that? We should check in on Homestar Runner.
They're still on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
Well, yeah. Well, most of them. I mean, they still exist. They're still around.
Yeah. The website doesn't exist anymore, right?
Well, maybe Flash exists in the reverse now.
Oh,
Wow.
they just inverted it.
They inverted.
But
Mouse, man, you're not a deadbeat dad. Don't say that about yourself.
Keisha, you don't know his life.
There's no room for self-deprecation in this chat. I'm saying
Positivity.
it right now.
Economy.
You guys are all
Pos-
very handsome.
Only good vibes and juju in 2021.
Only good juju.
Baby.
We're all
Only
in on
good
juju this year.
No, I don't think we are. I don't think that's kosher.
Juju 2021.
No, I
Year
don't think
of
that's
juju.
kosher. No.
Which backwards? 1202 ooge ooge.
Ooge ooge. Okay, I'm gonna start my recording. We gotta really do this.
Yeah.
I'm ready
Okay.
to
Okay.
start
Okay.
too.
Okay. Let me just adjust my levels really quick. Okay. Everybody recording?
Hold on.
I'm recording.
Adeline's
My
dragging
little
us down.
window to look at.
Should I
my
stop?
sound
I'll
bar.
stop. and
Yeah,
start over.
let's stop.
Sorry. Hold on.
For
I'm
people who
always
are
willing to
new,
stop
this
and
is
start
the
over.
super fun start of the stream where we start our disparate recording softwares, and it takes us like 40 minutes.
Sorry, my stupid. What's happening? My little like window that like shows me my wavelength is like super small, and I can't get it any bigger.
Have you tried just? There's a. Hold on, I think I know how to fix this.
The chat thinking, hey, you could have done this before you started recording. No,
Oh,
you
man.
didn't have because we were talking about Doctor Who.
Yeah. Great news, Headquarter
Don't tell
Productions. The great news is that we're having technical difficulties. Apparently, we have not even begun to talk about Tenet. So,
So don't worry. If you came here for
But we-
Tenet, just hold on.
But we have talked about David Tennant already, so
We have
In a
that's a
roundabout way.
delicious man. Okay,
We'll
here,
maybe talk
Keisha,
about him
Keisha,
some more.
Keisha, hottest doctor, go.
I already told you to watch Doctor Who, but I do think it's David Tennant.
yeah, I think it does have to be David, right? I think.
Yeah, because like
Or like
I think Matt Smith is
female.
my favorite doctor. I don't think he's all that attractive. I think he's one of those people that Tumblr tries to tell you is attractive, and really he's not.
Well, Matt
know,
Smith
like,
is just
genre
a
of
weird
women.
kind of
Attractive.
He's just a weird looking
Yeah.
guy.
He's the same attractiveness that Robert Pattinson is. They have the same kind
I
of face.
don't think that's true. I don't think that's true.
I
at all.
think Robert Pattinson,
Sounds
Benedict
way more like
Cumberbatch-
David Tennant.
I think they all fit in that weird, like, there's something off about your face, but it makes you hot, I
Right,
guess.
Right.
Yeah.
Or is it your personality and your acting? I don't know.
Here's how I would rank.
Probably.
Here's how I'd rank the modern doctors in order of hotness. Tenet, Capaldi, Jodie Foster.
I'd say Capaldi's pretty hot.
Capaldi
And-
or Jodie Foster?
Yes, absolutely. Not Jodie Foster. What's her name? It's Jodie something, right?
Who's Jodie Foster?
Jodie Foster's
What
in
do I-
Silence of the Lambs, but what? what's her name? God, I haven't been watching Doctor Who for the last 6 or 7
I knew
years.
that. I knew
Um,
that. I don't know why that was not in my brain.
What's the name
What's
of the?
happening?
It's Jodie something, right? Or it's something Foster. It's one of the
Jodie.
two.
Sutton Foster.
So, Doctor Who woman. Jodie Whittaker.
Jodie Whittaker. Okay, thank you.
Oh,
Also, I hate that googly Doctor Who woman immediately gave me exactly what I wanted.
What else could it be? Okay. I'm going back in. I also am going to include John Hurt because he played like a special in between doctor in that one episode, if I remember correctly.
That's right. Because the Doctor is actually he only had so many lives, but now he has all the lives and maybe none of
They did some
Maybe
kind of
some
weird
of
writing
them.
bullshit. I don't care. Okay, David Tennant,
Yeah.
Peter Capaldi, Jodie Whittaker. Actually, maybe John Hurt, Jodie Whittaker, then Matt Smith. Well,
I think Peter Capaldi and J.K. Simmons in Whiplash have like the same weird aura of hotness. Does
Similar
that make any
energies.
sense at all?
Yeah, fair enough. How's your how's your
like
audacity
it,
going?
like intimidating old man who is skinny. I don't know.
But no, wait, but J.K. Simmons is fucking jacked in Whiplash,
He
Adeline.
is jacked, but he's very lean. You know.
Have I told the story about when I met Chuck Palahniuk on this podcast before?
Yeah, and he strangled you.
No, so Chuck Palahniuk, writer of Fight Club, he had a signing at a local bookstore, and I was like, oh hell yeah, I'll bring my copy of Fight Club and Choke and get him to sign it. And I get up there and I realize that like he had like just arrived. I got there a little bit early and he was like, oh, he'd started his signing early, so there was like hardly anybody there yet. So I like got in line and I like walked up to him and I realized that he was fucking jacked as shit. Like
Yeah.
And there's this whole passage in Fight Club where he like describes like what people's bodies look like after being in Fight Club for long enough. And like that's what he looked like, which is so intimidating to me. And I was like, holy shit. And then I go up and I kind of talk to him and he's a nice enough guy. And I asked him some questions about comic books because he'd had a comic book that had just come out. And, he's like, so do you want to get a picture? I was like, yeah, absolutely. And he was like, great. Would you like fighting or choking? And he's just like bulging out of his tight black shirt. And he's like, you want fighting or choking? I was like, a picture was what I was hoping for, actually.
Jackson's wildest fantasy.
Yeah. Like, it's just he's such a scary person to be around. Are you Googling what Chuck Palahniuk looks like, Keisha?
I know. I've seen the picture, Jackson.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you see the picture of me
No,
I'm your friend.
fighting Chuck Palahniuk. Okay. Are we ready to start the GD recording,
yes,
Adeline?
I'm good. We're good. We're
Okay,
good.
okay.
My window problem hasn't been fixed, but it's fine. Whatever.
All right, I'm going to start in 3, 2, 1. Now. Okay.
It fixed itself. I don't know what I did.
Okay, cool. All right. So, we'll do our sync. The Incredible Hulk is 3 words, but I'm pretending it's 1. The Incredible Hulk.
Shot.
My
Sister.
I feel attacked right now.
Continue.
Who?
likes
2.
Party.
The Incredible Hulk shot my sister, who incidentally likes to party.
Yeah, you gotta give them a reason to relate to the character.
Okay, so
He likes
Cool
Captain
world
America
building,
more.
Jackson.
I couldn't sing the Travis Scott song from the end of this movie. Maybe I'll just
I can't make the sound of the Tenet.
Try to sing
soundtrack
any
with my mouth.
song
Yeah, okay.
backwards.
I'm gonna sing the Tenet soundtrack. Are you guys ready? Hi, my name's Jackson McMurray. Hello?
And that's Adeline McMurray.
Oh, sorry, you cut out for a second.
I know, it's because whenever I laugh too loud, just fucking my
Okay,
microphone
good.
is just like, nope, no, actually.
Well, I guess it's good to
I
know
laughed-
that you were laughing retroactively.
Yeah, I laughed really loud.
Because to me, I started doing that and it was just dead silence. And I was like, this isn't a good
It's
bit
because I
of
was
bombing live
laughing
on
very
stream.
hard. Anyway.
I didn't want to interrupt the beauty art that was created.
Anyway.
Okay, my name is McMurray Adeline.
Oh, whoa. I don't know. This is No Nerds Allowed. Put in the theme song. There's going to be a new theme song, by the way, if you guys want to listen to the
You can get it in the
podcast
stream.
afterwards.
So
Yeah.
I think halfway through this podcast, we have to just start speaking everything that we did say backwards.
How annoying would it
More
be if I did
nuance.
that? If I just played the
it's so
podcast
annoying.
backwards
It's
at the
the most
end?
annoying thing in the world.
No, I just mean we record a whole podcast, but then I play it backwards at the end, so it's twice as long. People have to skip
Yeah,
past
but
it.
we'll put in little hidden messages
Ooh,
like
backmasking.
that car crash sound
Teaching you
in
how to kill your
number
parents.
9.
Yeah, just put random sound effects in the background that will then be explained when you replay
Turn
the
me
whole
on,
thing in
Deadman.
reverse.
Yeah.
Paul is dead.
Yeah.
Or Adeline is dead, maybe.
Are you
Oh,
mad
yeah,
at me
exactly.
about something? Why do you want the Hulk to shoot me?
Yeah, there seems
Hey,
to be a
Adeline
lot
is
of
dead.
coding
Attention here,
towards.
Jackson.
She got
There's a-
shot by the Incredible Hulk, who uses a gun.
Ever
I
since you
guess?
started talking about Fight Club, there's been a lot of aggressive energy towards Adeline, and I don't really appreciate
Yeah,
it.
like honestly.
Okay. Today,
Hello.
I'll tell you why. I'm not mad at you, Adeline, just subconsciously.
Okay.
It's because about 45 minutes before we were supposed to start the podcast, I was like, hey, Adeline, did you watch the movie? And then you were like, huh, what? And I was like, Adeline? And you had watched the movie. It was just an unfortunate texting mishap, but I was a seething ball of white-hot rage for about 10 minutes.
Well, no, because first of all, I was at work, so don't.
Right. Okay,
so it's
that's
not
fine.
fair. Yeah. Second of all, you were like, I've seen it 3 times, and Keisha's seen it 2 times, and you were like, and Adeline's seen it 1 time, and then you and Keisha had a conversation, and then you were like, Adeline, you good? And I was like, about what? I just got off of work. I'm gonna be home in time to do the podcast. What do you mean? And then you were like, Adeline, are you good? Are you good, Adeline? I'm like, yeah, what?
I got very scared, but it's okay now. And
How did you spend your New Year's? I watched Tenet at 10 o'clock because I had no other time to watch it.
Nice. So this is a podcast about Tenet, or we can't keep doing
Tenet.
bad backwards jokes.
It's
The joke
David
is that
Tennant's
Tenet
biography
is Tenet
about
backwards.
David Tennant's life.
Yeah. Which I have a sneaking suspicion that we're gonna spend a lot of time in this podcast just breaking down what happens in it and trying to explain it to each other. Is that correct?
Theories.
Yep, probably.
Because I am in love with this movie. I am so
Yeah,
obsessed
Jackson-
with Tenet.
Jackson's
Because-
horny for Tenet.
Yeah, like what I'll say is that like there's that scene where like right at the beginning they're like teaching you the rules, and just Clemence Posey shows up for one scene, never shows up again. She just hangs out for like 10 minutes and just tells you all about this crazy time travel premise. And every time I watch that scene, I have the biggest, dumbest grin on my face because I think it's just so fun. Where she's like, "Oh, somebody in the future has been streaming these bullets back at us, and we're just intercepting them through our regular temporal perception." And I was like, "This is the best movie ever. This movie rules."
So the
Also,
way that I would describe Tenet, just like in like just what it at its core, what it is somebody walking into frame, just dropping the biggest load of information on you, and then walking out of frame, never to be seen again.
Yeah. Well, Tenet is 50% people you will never see again explaining things to you, and 50% the sickest shit you've ever seen in a movie. There's
Yeah,
like
definitely.
no
Well,
in
I
between.
mean, the thing is that Christopher Nolan kind of like we've seen him do this kind of thing in movies before, especially with Michael Caine, who makes a one scene appearance.
In
He literally
Inception.
just eats dinner. But like
And he
in
gets to go home. What a
Inception,
great set
Michael
day for
Caine
Michael
is just
Caine.
like hanging out with like Leo's kids. In Batman, he's just like he is technically playing a butler, but he doesn't clean anything. I've never seen him clean anything. Have you?
Good point. Good point.
But like that's the thing is that there are usually like characters who are there just to set up the world and make it feel lived in. And then like they do a lot of setting up in the beginning.
Right.
Especially with this movie, it kind of feels like, have you ever watched when someone like paints a painting upside down and you're like, I can't see it, I don't know what it is, I'm so confused, and then at the very last minute they flip it over and you're like, oh my god,
Right.
it was vases with 10 different kinds of flowers.
Right. Yeah.
Or whatever. That's what this movie is to me. Like halfway through, he flips the movie over, and you're like,
Yeah.
"Oh my god, of course!
Oh, I get it.
I can see it all, but now it makes sense."
Right, because that's the thing is like Inception is way more front loaded than Tenet is. Inception
Mhm.
spends like an hour making sure you get all the rules, and then the last like hour and 20 minutes of Inception, you're just cruising and you like know everything and it all makes sense, you know? Whereas Tenet is like, okay, here's 10 minutes of explanation, and then 10 minutes of something that's sick as hell, and then go back for 10 more minutes of explanation, and then 10 more minutes of something that rules, you know? And
then like the last hour is like nonstop.
Yeah.
Like to the
No, that's not even
degree,
true
both
though.
of
There's
those
that whole bit where Aaron Taylor Johnson's like, this whole thing's a temporal pincer movement. And you're like,
No, I'm saying they do the same thing, but it's like elevated.
right.
They're like, oh, what's a temporal pincer movement? You get to see, and then you cut to a building that gets exploded in reverse twice. It's like a
Yeah,
sandwich.
so good.
It was so cool.
But my problem, you guys have watched this movie twice. I've only watched it once. And this is definitely a movie you need to watch twice.
Right,
like,
right,
just
right.
inherently. But so, spoilers for Tenet. I got no fucking clue what's going on in that whole scene where they're like the two army brigades, where one's in
Right.
reverse and one's going forwards.
It's really
super
wild.
cool to watch. I got no clue what the fuck we're doing, who we're fighting, what all those metal pieces are. Like, I get those are like the time travel doodads. Why we need to get them and or separate them, or what the fuck they like actually do, I don't fucking know.
Right. Because
Yeah,
the first time
kinda
you watch
generic.
this movie, you don't really have any other choice but to watch it like somebody's mom. And just be
Yeah.
like, wait, who is that? Wait, what did he just say?
Like, wait,
How-
where are they going?
Yeah, exactly.
Why?
And you're doing that the whole time. And then the second time you watch it, you feel like a goddamn genius for just like clinging on.
I definitely like the first time I watched it, my like until halfway through, I had to just keep reminding myself that Christopher Nolan is a director that I trust and like I
Right.
know has competency and like advanced competency when it comes to like creating a narrative in a really interesting and not usually seen way.
Right.
So I was like, all right, I'm just gonna just keep going and I'm gonna get it eventually.
Yeah.
And it happened.
I'm gonna just trust that this makes
It's
sense.
going to make sense.
I was like, I love Memento, and I didn't understand Memento till the end, so I'm in.
Right. So I want to go through this movie bit by bit.
Yeah, why don't you give a plot synopsis?
Okay, no, I'll do that. I'll take plot synopsis duty on this.
You'll take a duty, Jackson?
I'll take nice.
Ayo, 1 point to Adeline.
And like it's one
Put
point,
it on
1
the
point on the
scoreboard.
board. So we open. There's a whole bunch of guys in a van, right?
There's a river, and there's a deer drinking out of the river.
I wish I could just fucking remember like every shot of this movie. But so it's
It's
a
an
little
opera.
tricky. It's a little tricky, and I'm not gonna have answers for everything 100% of the time. Obviously, even though I've seen it 3
Would you
times
rather
now.
do this as you just explain it and I interrupt you when I have a thought, or do you want me to just explain all the parts that I didn't get?
We'll just
and
get.
then
I mean,
do
look.
a plot
Time to do it.
synopsis?
I'll
do the plot
keep doing it.
synopsis.
It's just how you do it. You do a plot synopsis, and whenever somebody has a thought or an opinion or a question, we jump in. You know, it's a discussion.
All right. I
Um,
already have one. I had
okay.
no fucking clue
Cool.
what was going on in the entire first scene.
So you don't really until later, because the point is that he's just a part of some clandestine group of whatever, but he's not on the need to know level, right? And it turns out what they're trying to do is they're trying to stop people from grabbing that weird box that has that part of the algorithm in it. But he doesn't know that. He just knows that there's some bad guys he needs to stop because he's a grunt level CIA guy or whatever it is that he's doing.
Yeah,
But
it's a MacGuffin movie that never tells you it's a MacGuffin movie.
for sure,
It's
for
a
sure.
MacGuffin movie that shows you one MacGuffin, and then later there's 6 MacGuffins, and you didn't
Right.
realize that there was more than one MacGuffin.
Well, that's what's so cool. I mean, without like jumping ahead too much in the movie, my 2 favorite things about this movie are like, first of all, that J.D. Washington is just like, at first he's just like a guy, and then by the end of the movie, totally organically, he's like the leader of a giant clandestine military organization. And like, it just feels so smooth, and you're just kind of slowly realizing that he's in charge of this whole thing and didn't even know it yet, which I think is so cool. And also, along the same lines, when you realize that him and Robert Pattinson have just been best buds this whole time. It's so good.
he goes in to do this operation at the opera house, and they're in Ukraine, I believe.
Yes.
That's correct. Which is next to Russia. Remember that, kids.
Whoa.
It's
So-
very important.
So-
Russia
So
keeps
then-
trying to get in
So
there.
he completes his mission. He blows up the opera house. He gets everything he needs, but he accidentally gets into the wrong car, and the Ukrainian government or like secret agents, they get him, they apprehend him, and he's not gonna spill the beans. Oh
Right.
no, he's gonna take a little cyanide pill instead. And he does. It's very exciting.
Yes.
But oh
and then
my
there's
gosh,
the coolest title drop
didn't-
ever in a movie, I think. Where they just put
Yeah.
Tenet over his like dying face. He's like dying of cyanide poisoning. It's so good.
and that's the end of the movie.
And
Yeah,
roll
this is the
credits.
Tenet. And then
But-
they play it in reverse. And then that's the end of the movie.
It's just that
But-
over and over again.
So he wakes up and they're like, "Oh, hey, so we want to like upgrade you into this whole thing. Like, here's what's going on. There's objects that have been inverted."
Well, because they were like, "Psych, that was a test.
Right.
You're a selfless person. You would rather kill yourself than like out the people who you're working with.
Right.
So we need you to save the world.
The
And you're not
werewolf.
dead, sucker. We tricked you."
Right.
Gotcha.
And but what I like about it is he doesn't say like, "Here's what this organization is. Here's what we do." He's just like, "Okay, here's what's up. You're in charge of fixing whatever this is." And anyway, you just start asking around, like try to figure it out. Here's like a hand signal and a word that's like a secret code that some people know. And just go have fun.
Thing.
You know?
So that guy is like,
Both.
so it's kind of like, I had no clue what's going on, but I was like, okay, spy movie, there's a problem. And he's like, all right, there's a problem, go fix it. That's basically all he's told.
Right.
But he's like, I'll give you a word, Tenet, which doesn't really come up again, and then a hand signal. And they never use the hand signal ever.
What do
No
you
one
mean?
ever
They use
does
it all
that.
the time.
When?
Are you just not paying? Whenever people say Tenet to each other, they're also putting their fingers together. And
But I
then
don't remember people saying Tenet all that much.
when he is talking to what's her name, the Indian woman, and he's like, "Oh, that violates the tenets I live by," or whatever, and that's how they know they're talking to each other. And then later, when Robert Pattinson is like, "Oh, this machine would ruin the world," and he illustrates it by putting his fingers together like that, and you're like, "Oh, is that where it comes from?"
Yeah.
There's multiple times where they say Tenet and put the fingers together, and they're like, "Winky, winky, that's our thing."
Also, I don't understand that Indian woman's entire reason for existing, why she's in the movie.
Here's what it is. So she
Mhm.
is so like the bullets, he finds out, Dr. Woman. He goes down, he's on this
walks
ship,
in the frame.
he's
She
talking
walks
to the
out of
doctor.
frame.
and she's she tells him about this technology that has been sent to them from the future to the past, where these like bullets are going in reverse. So they're like objects that can go in reverse. So they're worried that
Isn't
if
that
bullets can go in
spooky?
reverse, then any kind of like weapon could be turned into that. Like, so imagine like all of the energy of the atom bomb, but in reverse. It would be catastrophic. So he's trying to stop it. And he finds out where the bullets are being created. So that's where the Priya, is that her name?
Priya, yes.
So like that's where that family comes in, because they're manufacturing the bullets in India, and that's where the bullets are from.
And but the thing about her is that later it turns out that she is also part of this whole organization, and she knows more than she lets on, because part of the thematics of this whole movie are like people not telling everybody everything, trusting that they'll figure it out for themselves later, just through the
Mhm.
natural progression of time. So basically every time she comes back like 3 different times in this movie, and every time like what you think about her is totally different, which I think is really fun. But so the first thing that he does is he goes to figure out where the bullets are. Talks to Priya. Priya's like, "Oh, well, we get the bullets from this guy Andre Sater, but he doesn't necessarily do it himself. He's just like a broker. What he for some reason is able to communicate with the future and get inverted stuff. He sends stuff into the future and gets back inverted stuff, which really just means that he puts something somewhere specific and the people in the future know where to look for it to find it, and then they invert it, and then it comes back to them through the natural progression of time, but backwards. Anyway, this is a super good movie. Do you have a question?
Are we all going into the future as we speak right now?
Yes.
All right.
What do you mean?
I don't know.
So
that's like what George Washington was all about. He was like, we are communicating with the future.
Yeah.
But can the future communicate back? George Washington never thought of that.
No, but Kenneth Branagh did.
Yeah, he did.
That's why he's.
And also, I really like Kenneth Branagh as scary Russian man.
Kenneth Branagh is so fucking good in this movie.
like I didn't even recognize him at first.
Like, I don't know how to explain that he's doing the most comically loud Russian accent I've ever heard in a movie, and he's just so ridiculously evil that he's able to pull it off in this weirdly serious movie to such a degree that it just, I don't know, it just rules. I love Kenneth Branagh in this movie. He's just like screaming at people and like, I don't know.
Spitting on women.
Yeah, spitting on women. When's the last time you saw somebody spit on their wife in a movie? It's so insane.
Like The Godfather, probably.
Yeah, exactly.
It's also kind of impressive because his wife, like the woman who plays his wife, is 6'3".
Yeah,
and he is
5'10". So
Have
it's
you-
like,
Go ahead.
it's hard to intimidate someone 5 inches taller than you.
Right. So I guess to compensate, you just have to be as loud and as Russian as possible, and it works.
That's why I'm so loud when I'm around people who are 5'9".
So anyway, here's the bit that tripped me up for a little while. Here's the conflict between between Kenneth Branagh and Elizabeth Debicki, right? They're married. Bad marriage.
Yeah.
So what happens is that she is an art appraiser, and she gets this fake painting, and whether she knows it's fake or not is kind of unclear. But she says it's real. Whether she's making a mistake or intentionally committing fraud, who's to say? She's like, oh, it's totally real. And then when it goes up for auction, turns out in a twist, her husband, Kenneth Branagh, is the one who buys it. And he knows it's a fake. So he has the capacity to be like, hey, police, fake painting, got sold a fake painting over here, and put her in jail. And that's the hold that he has over her.
Yeah, I didn't get that.
Yeah, it's tricky. I didn't get that till the second time. But, and also in between that, he talks to Michael Caine. Michael Caine shows up for one scene, eats lunch, and then when J.D. Washington is walking out of the shot, he's like, "Thank you, Sir Michael," and leaves. It's just good.
That's all.
Well, because Michael
Caine
Caine's
is like 90.
Yeah.
That's all I want him to do on a movie set. I want him to enjoy his lunch and then get to go home.
It's so good.
Michael Caine also, like, he says important things. He's like, hey, you know, there are all those abandoned cities in the former Soviet Union that have fake names.
Right.
There's nothing going on in there. Wink, camera, wink.
Right.
And then it's like, oh, that's where the final climactic battle scene is.
Right.
Woo woo. Because
For
I
some
didn't get that the
reason.
first time I watched it.
Who is shooting at them in that whole scene? Never mind. We'll get to it.
So now, this is probably my favorite part of the movie is all the stuff that happens in the like art gallery. There's this special like art holding zone where things are tax exempt. That's like a super mega high security place. And Elizabeth Debicki is like, "Hey, that painting is in there." And they're like, "Okay, maybe we can go in there and deal with that." But then they realize that there's something secret inside, like in the center of it. They're like, "Something's whack about this. We gotta go check it out." So they get in there. They stage this whole heist, which involves airplanes dropping gold bricks onto a runway and them holding their breath in a room without any oxygen. And then they get to the middle, and it's an inversion machine where two different versions of the same guy just pop out at him, and they have this insane fight scene where there's two guys fighting, and one of them is moving backwards in time and one of them is moving forwards in time, and it's so sick. And so
and Neil are fighting the same person at the same
Yes.
time, but
Yes.
one is from the reverse times and one is from the forward times.
Yes.
But runs from the reverse to the forward. It's crazy.
It's so good. So okay, so I know the answer to this, but I'm gonna ask you guys. How do you think they did the fight scenes where one person's backwards and the other person's forwards?
I mean, they must have just filmed it like one person at a time, I guess, like reversing the other person and then having the other person be able to like then have that person be able to react to the way the other person did. Like, Corey, do it in reverse and then have it so that the two actors are fighting, but the person is acting like the other in reverse.
So what they did was they basically had every actor in both of these fights where this happens, they had to learn their choreography backwards.
Yeah.
To do in real life as if they were moving in reverse. So that when they reverse the footage, it looks like they're moving forward, and the one guy who was moving forward in real life is now moving in reverse.
Oh, why wouldn't you just do it the other way around?
Well, they did it both ways. Because
Okay.
because you see that same fight from both perspectives, right?
Yeah.
So they
Okay,
had
so
to.
they did. Gotcha.
Yeah, so basically they had to, and they didn't want to like use the same footage multiple times because that's cheating.
Yeah.
So what they did was every fight scene, and an extra wrinkle in this is that it's not two people; it's the same person fighting himself. It's two
Okay,
versions
but
of John David Washington.
Jackson, in real life, it wasn't.
I
hate
know.
To break this to
I know,
you.
but I'm saying they had to film those things 4 times. Once with John David Washington in the hazmat suit going forwards, once with him in the hazmat suit going backwards, once with him in regular clothes going forwards, and once with him in regular clothes going backwards. And then take all that footage and make strategic decisions about which ones you're going to play in reverse and which ones you're going to play forward on top of just regular, continuity editing.
Can I get the smart boy crown? Because I definitely called it that was going to be him in the future.
Sure.
I had a feeling.
Here it
Give
is.
me the smart boy crown.
You can have it.
Like,
Here's the smart boy crown.
Thank you.
Can you
Put a
break it
little
up
crown
Katie
in
Heron
the stream.
style so I can have a piece? Because I also felt that way. You know, in Mean Girls, when she's like, we're all the queen of prom. Here, take a piece of crown.
I have not seen Mean Girls. And I gotta get on that. Because when I was a teenage boy, I was like, that doesn't seem like the kind of thing I would be into. As I think most teenage boys felt about Mean Girls. But now that I've watched 30 Rock about 40 times through, I realize that it is very much the kind of thing I would be into.
Yeah, it's such a good movie. It's so
and
smart.
I've just never gotten around to it. Maybe we'll do that on the podcast.
Maybe we can cover that.
Yeah.
See,
Did Tina Fey do any other movies?
I haven't seen Mean Girls either. I feel like watching Mean Girls, I would just want to be watching Heathers.
It's different. It's way different.
But what if Heathers was written by the 30 Rock people, Adeline?
And it's less about forcing people into killing themselves.
What do you mean? That's the good part.
Has Tina Fey done any other movies besides Mean Girls?
I think she did like a couple movies with Amy Poehler. I was like Amy Schumer, Amy Adams, Amy Poehler.
I guess she didn't direct it. For some reason I thought she directed it. She just wrote it.
She wrote it though.
Yeah.
And the
musical. The musical, she had her hand in the musical.
She wrote the book. She wrote the book for the musical.
Right.
Gotcha.
Okay, so I mean the only other that's the only movie that Tina Fey has a writer credit on. That's crazy. Besides the 30 Rock Pandemic Reunion Special.
Wait, what the fuck? What?
Does that count as a movie?
No, it does not.
Oh. Wait, has that already happened?
Yeah, that happened already. Nobody cared about it because everybody and their brother is doing dumbass Zoom reunion specials, and they're all bad. Nobody wants this.
Yeah.
I did almost cry during the Parks and Rec one, though. It hit me.
Oh, I didn't even watch it. Like, who cares? I don't want that.
I care.
Who wants that?
I wanted it. I wanted the Parks and Rec one.
And like, I feel like the only one that might be worth my time is the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air one. Because that show has been off the air for long enough that it feels meaningful. And they actually all showed up to the same place to like have a conversation. So like,
Jackson, how much of Fresh Prince of French Prince of Bel-Air have you actually watched?
not much.
The idea of doing French Prince of Bel-Air.
French
Prince
of Bel-Air.
Listen, I have
Where
been.
it's the
I
same
would just like to defend
show.
myself really quick that I have been on register for like 5 hours, which means I've been talking to people in my high-pitched customer service voice, so I'm dying vocally.
No, I think
over
it's
here.
fine. I think you've struck gold though, Adeline,
Yeah.
where it's the same exact show in Philadelphia or Bel Air now.
And
Or,
he's like,
I don't know, maybe it's a spin-off. And like
This
it's
is-
like, oh, he's
First
a fish
time.
out of water. Because
Wait.
he's actually French royalty.
here's my, okay, I'm going to put this in my type 5, okay? Are you ready for this? I think about weird stuff sometimes, you know? You ever think about, here's the kind of stuff I think about. What if instead of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, it was the French Prince of Bel-Air? I think it would go a little something like this. Oh, Carlton. Oh, Carlton. Why don't my dad love me, man? That didn't end up French.
Why would you choose that scene? There's so many
That's
You
the
turned into
only
the
other-
Godfather.
That's the only other Fresh Prince of Bel-Air poll I have. Is the really emotional scene where he says, "Why doesn't he love me, man?"
My God. But it's about
Lady
like
boys,
Louis
some
the
about women.
14th.
Some
yeah,
about
exactly.
women.
What's
The
another?
crazy thing. Oh
Go ahead.
no, I was gonna go back to Tenet.
Okay, no, yeah, that's fine. That's totally fine.
Okay, the crazy thing about the fight scenes in the art gallery holding zone is that both times you watch it, even though you've seen the first one, it always looks like the person in reverse has the upper hand for some reason.
Yeah.
Like they're like just excelling way more than the person who's going forward in the fight. But you're like, how could this be? Because I already watched you do this and I know
Right.
exactly what's gonna happen, but I still feel like you're losing.
That's true. That is really cool. Like it
Yeah.
feels like John David Washington feels like the underdog both times. I don't know
Yeah,
how
it's
they
cool.
pull that off.
There
Like,
is
when
this
he gets-
there's the part where he like knocks himself, who's in the SWAT suit, like on the ground, and he does this weird little like shimmy shammy across
Yeah.
the floor that just looks so fucking weird, reversed and forwards. I don't know what that little move is that he does.
No,
but it
he's
looks
just-
fucking bizarre every time he
Forward.
does it.
Forward, he's just trying to scoot himself so he can go reach that gun.
But he's doing his weird little like shimmy shammy like quick arm move.
Yeah.
It's weird.
I also want to point out that I really love the like mousy tour guide who like explains all the security procedures to Robert Pattinson. I don't know what it is about that guy, but I like the cut of his jib.
A weird character because he's explaining the rules of the art place, and they like make a joke that's like everybody here does not give a shit about their life and is here to die for the art,
Right.
which was weird. And then when the emergency happens and he fucking decks out of there as quick as possible,
Yeah, it's so
leaving
good.
who he thinks are 2 billionaires to die in this room that's
Yeah.
gonna not have any oxygen in it.
Because you see his like very polished, very, presentable exterior as he's explaining this, because he's just like, yeah, whether you don't really know how he actually feels because he's putting on this field for like investors. And he's like, oh, well, there is no higher priority besides our clients. And then the instant shit hits the fan, he just panics.
Yeah,
And
he's
it's
like,
so great.
"Bye."
And there's that
And-
moment in that scene where they're in the room with no oxygen. They're both holding their breath. And that instant when, like, the lockpick breaks in John David Washington's hands, and you just see Robert Pattinson's eyes get so wide
Yeah.
before he just sprints towards the other door, is so good. I love it so
Yeah.
much.
I'd like to say that, like, I feel like sometimes with, like, I guess I'm only really comparing it to, like, Mission Impossible, but I, like, feel sometimes when you have, like, a crew of, like, I'm gonna just call them super agents, like, of, like, people who are, like, in a team together doing a thing. You have, like, all of the cool dudes and then one funny guy.
Right.
And that's like it. But what I really liked about this movie is that everybody was the cool guy and the funny guy. Like
Right.
everybody was like super relatable that was in the crew. Like everybody seemed like a real person, even
Yeah.
though they were still like a super agent, you
Right.
know?
And, you know, this movie has had a pretty lukewarm critical and audience reception since it's come out. Mostly because it's just so crazy and so, like, hard to watch, I guess. It's so, like,
yeah, and
opaque.
intentionally so.
Yeah. But one of the things that people say, this is a Christopher Nolan thing that I think is a little bit apocryphal. Everybody keeps saying, like, and it's so humorless. It's so serious.
Oh, that's not true at all.
And I would posit that John David Washington is very funny in this movie.
Yeah. Oh, like he's like so like quippy and like
Yeah.
smarmy whenever he's talking to anybody.
That part when he's like, I asked for a hot sauce an hour
So
ago.
good.
It's so good. What about when he's talking to the scary guy and he's like, "Yo, I'm gonna slit your throat and put your balls in them," and he's like, "Wow, I wish you wouldn't do that." Like that's
Yeah, it's
hilarious.
really good.
Like first of all, he's gonna put his balls in his throat. Second of all, he's just like, "Wow, that seems inefficient." Like it's hilarious.
Yeah, it's really good. And there's that moment where he's like getting felt up by the security guard, and he's like, "Whoa, where I come from, they buy you dinner first." And the guy just gives him this cold, icy stare. It's very
It was
funny.
Anyone would do.
I
I've
think
seen
John.
much more humorless movies that are like intended to be funny.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like this movie has got some good jokes in it. They're small, they're subtle jokes, but they're still pretty funny.
Yeah.
Also, like, it's not every. I'm so sorry. I love the Avengers. I love them so much. But not every, like, action-based movie needs to have a funny haha wink at the audience joke every 10 minutes
Right.
or more. Like, it's okay to just have a smart, like, thoughtful script. This isn't a comedy, so it
Right.
doesn't need to have haha jokes. But there are a lot of moments that feel real and feel, like, authentically funny
Right.
Mhm.
that happen, and like the friendship that forms between the protagonist and Neil. I for sure thought the whole time that they were gonna pull the rug out from under me and be like, "Oh, you thought that this chemistry was so charming and you like seeing them together or working together? Well, joke's on you, because one of them's a villain." But they didn't do that. They were friends the whole time, and I
Yeah.
loved it.
I know I've already said it this episode. I just love it that they're friends at the end.
Yeah.
And it's like
Jackson
this.
just really likes. that
Yeah,
they're
it's like
friends.
this weird tragedy, you know, but it's just like, hey, this guy turns out that he is your best friend, and that's just destiny. It's like, so you got that to look forward to. You're like, hell yeah,
Yeah.
that rules. I also just think pretty much
You-
all Christopher Nolan movies are funnier than people give them credit for.
Yeah.
You know,
What's the deal when people? What's the deal when people don't like something? They like. I guess I'm just coming back to Batman versus Superman, where people call that movie boring. It's like that movie is not boring, and like
Yeah.
saying that this movie isn't funny. It's like it's just objectively not true. Like
Right.
you can say that you don't like it, or that it didn't hold your interest, or like it just wasn't your cup of tea, and like that's fine. But it's not objectively boring or objectively not funny. You know.
Right. Like, remember?
This movie on either to be like, I can't wait for all the jokes. I can't wait
Right.
for the
Yeah, I
jokes.
can't wait to bust a gut during Tenet.
Like, remember in
That's what
Dark
I'm here
Knight?
for.
Remember that shot in The Dark Knight where they just randomly cut to like two kids in a car making gun noises at parked cars? Where there's like, pew,
Yeah.
pew, 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 and then all the cars just fucking explode. And there's this reaction shot of the two kids just being like, that's fucking funny as shit.
Very funny.
He's in the Joker a lot of time. No, not the Joker. Whoa, 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 whoa. I broke the Matrix. He's funny as the Joker. He's not in the Joker.
Oh, okay. No, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, it's kind of funny.
No, like, I mean, it's not funny because he's a sadistic
Right.
criminal.
I get
But
what you're
like,
saying.
there are
though.
moments that it's like, oh, I shouldn't laugh at that, but I did because he's the Joker, and the Joker is supposed to be like the clown prince of crime.
Right, yeah.
Like he's supposed to be kind of funny.
Like that
That's
part when
nice.
he's like he's dressed up as a nurse and like the remote's not working.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
like that's funny, and he like
That's a
gets, he
fucking
jumps a little
setup
bit.
punchline, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, that's good.
Did you know that it was, guy? Did you know that it wasn't scripted, guys? Did you
I know.
know? Did
I
you
know
it
that's-
wasn't
That was
scripted?
actually it was actually ad-libbed.
I know that's a fucking hack thing to point out, but shit does rule though.
It does
Yeah.
rule.
Yeah,
That's
it's
the
so
reason
sick.
why he won an Oscar for
That's
it.
like maybe the
performance.
best. That's like maybe the best behind the scenes story that there is.
Yeah.
That
My
like,
favorite behind the scenes story is when Brad and Angelina fell in love.
Oh, I liked when Tommy Lee Jones told Jim Carrey he wouldn't sanction his buffoonery. Yeah.
Did you know that when Aragorn kicks the helmet, he actually breaks his toe? So when he screams, he's like actually. Did you know that he's actually
He's
screaming?
in
You
physical
guys know
agony.
that?
And Ian brought up the moment in Dark Knight 2 where they're in the interrogation room and Batman slams his head against the table and he's like, you never start with the head because then the guy can't feel the next thing you hit him with. And then he like pounds his hand and he's like, see? That's fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, this movie is good and charming and funny when it needs to be, but it doesn't need to be funny that
Yeah.
often because that's not the point.
Remember when he cheese grates that guy's face? How much does
Yeah,
that
I
rule?
do remember that.
That's the sickest shit in the world.
Cut your hand on a cheese grater.
Oh,
Because you
what?
always think, I've cut my hand on a cheese grater once, and I remember being like, oh, it's a cheese grater. I can't cut myself with this. And then I did, and I was like, what?
And then you're like, oh yeah, a cheese grater is just tiny knives.
It's just a bunch of
Knife
sharp
holes.
circles.
I love all the boats in this movie. This has got
Boats.
some of the best boat content of any movie in modern memory, I think.
I like the part at the beginning where he's like, all right, you're upgraded. Here's the problem. Go solve it. And then he just chills in a windmill for a little bit and then gets on a boat.
Yeah, it's so
And
good.
that was all part of the plan.
I love all the oceans.
I got on the boat.
It's almost got like a
Super
Miami Vice
understand.
vibe.
Why does that happen though? Like, I feel like they could have just saved 3 minutes. Like, here's your vest, get
Cool
on
that
the
he's in a
ship.
big windmill.
Right.
That's
I mean,
it.
like, I
That's
get that
literally
they
it.
show him doing pull-ups later, but it's mostly like, I'm waiting for a ship and I'm in a windmill and I'm gonna do some pull-ups and I'm sleeping now.
Right. Okay. One more thing that I think is really funny that I want to say, and then I'll stop just listing things that I think are funny.
Yeah, maybe.
There's that moment in the car chase where someone's talking on the walkie-talkie, and John David Washington's like, what are they saying? And Rob Pattinson's like, oh, I don't know. And he's like, I thought you spoke Estonian. He's like, it's not Estonian, it's backwards. I think that's hilarious. I think
I
that's
thought
really
that was
funny.
supposed to be
Let's
like a
talk about the
gotcha
car
moment,
chase
not
then,
funny.
because that thing rips so hard. It's so cool.
Yeah.
It's so
It does.
good. Like,
And,
at
like-
first, I was like, oh my god, I can't believe that they have this, like, whole configuration that's super real, and he's climbing from a fire truck onto a different truck, and then the backwards cars show up.
Right. So
But what I still don't understand about that scene is that whenever we see the car going in reverse, it's like facing the wrong way. Wouldn't it be facing the right way? Because then the person who would have to be driving it backwards and also going in reverse, but he was driving it frontwards and in reverse.
When protagonist was driving backwards, he was
Yeah.
going against the flow of traffic. So his car would be going the same direction as the cars backwards. If they were going in forwards.
You,
let
you
me
fucking
think
lost
this.
me.
Let me think this through.
That is the thing about this movie, is that if you ever start thinking about it, your brain might hemorrhage.
Yeah, just you
Just like-
Because-
you lost me. I'm gone.
Yeah, I watched the like hour-long making of documentary on the bonus disc of my Blu-ray, and there's like this whole segment where they're like, so was it hard like making this movie because it's so complicated? And everyone was like, fucking yes. Like, you'd think, like, you'd
They're
kind
like,
of expect people to be like, oh, you know, when you have the script in front of you, it's not really so bad. But people were like, no, at least like 3 times a day, everybody would just have to be like, okay, everybody stop, let's just all get together and look at the script and try to figure out what the fuck's going on in this one. Like, Christopher Nolan not even being exempt from that, just being like, wait, let me just make sure I've got this straight. Like, apparently they would just have to stop and do these little get-togethers where they're like, so, if that is going backwards, then that means, but what is his motivation if he's already backwards? Like, all that kind of stuff, just having to stop and think it through, like, constantly.
Yeah. It's just
Worth it.
yeah. Like I
'Cause your
do.
brain gets smarter.
Yes.
I don't want to.
Your brain gets smart, but your head gets dumb.
That's actually what this movie does.
Don't try to understand it, just feel it.
Exactly.
I do think
That's
that
they
there is-
warned us at the beginning.
Yeah.
I told you. They gave
What
you
if
all
what
the
if
clues.
what if Clemens Posey at the beginning was just like, but be careful. This makes your brain smart, but your head dumb. He's like,
My pitch for
All
Cats, right? Cats, the 2019 fiasco that lost $100 million. Are you familiar with it?
yeah, what does this have to do with what we're talking about?
You said that there should have just been like a little preface at the beginning. My pitch to save Cats money and to save them just the utter horrors that they've created themselves. I thought that they should just, at the very beginning of the movie, say, hello, this is a play about cats. Pretend that we're all cats, but we're going to be wearing t-shirts and jeans. Just pretend that we're cats.
Right.
We're going to act like cats. We're being cats, but we're not going to look like cats. Just pretend that we're cats.
Don't
And I
try
think it
to
would've saved...
don't try to
Please
understand
pretend
it,
that we're
just feel it.
Cabs.
Yeah,
God
it would have saved a
fucking
lot of
damn it.
money. It would have saved a lot of trouble. I just think that would have been a better idea. And that's what they should have done for this movie. They're like, just don't think about it too hard. Just let
Right.
it happen.
It's like a temporal
the-
pincer movement. Just
Cats.
let
It's
it
just
be.
a cat.
Because now my brain hurts.
So, okay. So, last we left off, we were with the plane, right?
The plane?
So at this point, basically, John David Washington is just going to make Kenneth Branagh think that he's sleeping with his wife. So he gets mad. But then when he's like, hey, I'm going to kill you, he's like, oh, hey, what's up? I know about the opera. And he's like, oh, fuck. And then they get into some kind of business. This is a little unclear to me still. I'm not entirely sure what their arrangement is moving forward.
No, but the villain Russian guy even has to do with anything other than he's like a bad dude and we want him not to be. Like literally, like
what?
Is
No,
he
no.
the time guy?
He's like the antithesis to the protagonist. The villain, if you will.
The antagonist, perhaps? What are you talking about, Keisha?
No, like I actually have a point.
Okay.
Like, because we find out that he accrued his wealth by just being in the right place at the right time. So like he got a gold bar back like in the past at the fall of the Soviet Union from the future, and that's where he built his empire off of, and that's why he can reverse all of the things that he's been given. Like he didn't earn anything. He was just put into a certain circumstance. He doesn't ask questions. He just has like the answers that he needs. Whereas the protagonist is doing everything selflessly, but in the same kind of order where he doesn't know all of the answers. He just gets what he needs when he needs it.
Right.
So he's like the reverse, if you will.
Because
of
what's
the
happened
protagonist.
happened. Or, you know.
Yeah,
you
because
say
what's
that.
happened happened.
But Russian guy is the guy who's sending this stuff into the past.
Future.
No, he's not sending anything. He's receiving things.
Right.
From
Well, he's going out of his way to identify objects that he wants the people in the future to invert.
Okay, and it's because the future people don't like us because climate change.
No. Well,
No, well, I thought the idea was that like if they put the algorithm together, it will reverse everything except for the future, a la Avengers Snap. I'm gonna talk about the Avengers again.
okay.
So like everything that's happened in the past and like that's in the future will stay the same, but the past will be erased. Kind of. Is that what it is?
Well, okay, here's
So-
what I was thinking about it like.
But wait, why? Okay,
So hold on. Let me give my own take. When they're talking about Oppenheimer, they're talking about like they invented this horrible weapon and Oppenheimer thought that it might cause a chain reaction and destroy everything. That wasn't what it was intended to do, but he suspected that it would destroy the entire world. Like, that is what the algorithm is, this object. Because they say it inverts the world around you. I think that Kenneth Branagh is positing that it would just reverse the world and we could start moving backwards through time so we could avert the coming whatever. But the protagonists, Robert Pattinson, all think it would just annihilate every timeline and destroy the universe. So they are trying to stop him from doing that because, like Oppenheimer, they believe that it might destroy everything, even though it's not necessarily what it's designed to do.
So why would we all die if he killed himself?
Because you just need to use the algorithm, whatever it is. It's not, I mean, I don't think it needs to be, but it's not fully
Think
explained,
that-
like,
I don't
think
know
the
what it
algorithm-
is or how we use it.
well, yeah, you don't
I
know
think
how to
it-
operate it, but they know how to operate it. I don't think it matters.
I think it was that like once he'd collected all the pieces, they were linked to go off at the same time his heart rate reached 0.
Yes,
Because it was like connected to his
Oh.
heart rate monitor.
right.
So
Okay.
so he was like the switch for the bomb.
So, but that's the whole action set piece at the end. When he dies, it sets off just an email blast that says like, hey, the thing is at this time, at this place, come get it, blow up the world. And his agents in the
He didn't
future...
know it would blow up the world.
Because the agents would like start the algorithm.
No, but I thought the whole thing is that he didn't think it would blow up the world. It's not supposed to
No,
blow
he
up the
did
world.
think he wanted to blow up the world because he was like, if I can't have the world because I have pancreatic cancer, no one gets the world.
So there is the possibility that he does that and then the world doesn't blow up.
I don't think so. I
don't care about this. This is the
I
nitty
think
gritty.
that
But this is the part I'm confused about.
Well, okay, but when he sets out that email chain, the people will know where to go. By the time people are trying to that's who's shooting at them in the battle at the end, are the vague future people that Kenneth Branagh has been in contact with, and he sent them the email blast when he died that said, come here, get this thing, invert the whole world. So that some agency from the future who want to invert the whole world are coming and trying to get that object before the protagonists and their Tenet organization can get to it.
But those future people, we never see them in that fight.
Yeah, you do.
people that are shooting
there's
against
nobody
them.
there. There's just like bullets coming in from nowhere and like people exploding out of nowhere. You only see our guys. You never see anybody like fighting them.
But what about the guy who sets the tripwire
That's
and the
the
guy?
one guy that you see. But that's his bodyguard from earlier.
They're
That's the
all
only like
around.
bad guy that you see.
You see the bad. They're just other guys in camo.
It's kind of hard to tell, but it's like if they don't have a red or a blue armband, then
But
they're
everybody
no
had a red
good.
or a blue armband, and we're
They
also
did
just
in
like in an
Adelaide.
abandoned town. And I don't know why we're blowing
No,
up
that's
that
the abandoned town
building.
that Michael Caine was talking about. That's the abandoned town where like
No,
he
that's
first
like
got
his
the gold.
house. That was like his childhood home. That's his country, and so that's where he got his money. I
And
got
that's
that
why you don't
part.
have to feel bad about the buildings being blown up.
But why are we blowing up the buildings if we're just trying to
Because
get the 6 MacGuffins?
I mean, look, I don't know all the nitty gritty of how that sequence goes out because it's very complicated, and I don't know exactly.
I would argue that it doesn't make sense. I don't know what we're doing. I would argue it doesn't make sense on the first viewing. Which
Yeah,
I think
you've
is
only seen
objectively
it the
true.
one
Yeah.
time. Yeah. But so I'm trying to think. So just to get back to the original thing, I'm not mega clear about what Kenneth Branagh and J.D. Washington's arrangement is after that, but the nitty gritty of it is at one point he's trying to move the MacGuffin and they intercept him and get it, but then they realize that he has access to an inversion machine himself, and
He's got 5 more MacGuffins.
yeah, well, so they don't even know what the MacGuffin is yet. They
He's
think
like-
it's plutonium.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like trying to double cross him, and that's where the car chase scene goes in. He's like going in to infiltrate, grab this box, but it was actually, oh no, one of the
Right.
pieces of the algorithm.
And then what's
That's
tricky
how
about
algorithms work.
what's tricky about this scene is like Elizabeth Debicki gets shot, and then J.D. Washington goes in and gets inverted, and he's talking with Robert Pattinson in there, and he's like, I want to save her. And Robert Pattinson's like, well, you can't really because she's already right here. What's happened's happened. And he's like, no, I want to go out and see if I can't rescue her from getting kidnapped in the first place. And Robert Pattinson tells him it doesn't work like that. But J.D. Washington says, well, fuck you. I'm going to go out there anyway and at least try. And then he goes out there and at least tries, and it turns out it doesn't work like that, so he fails. And then he goes back and is like, oh, Robert Pattinson, you were right. It doesn't work like that. Which is confusing.
He was like, I want to save her from dying. She only has, like, they don't have the resources to save her from dying, and
Right.
that's why they go in reverse. So
Right.
then that's the whole mission there for them, even though at first it was like, who are these evil guys in the black helmets? It was actually just to get to an ambulance. That's what I thought it was.
Yeah. Well, no, that first moment is what when he gets back into the chase scene again, he's trying to rescue Elizabeth Debicki in the past, which he can't.
Just stop her from getting shot.
Yeah, which he can't do because
gotcha.
What's happened has happened.
What's happened has happened.
And that's him sort of learning the hard way that he can't do that.
He can't stop his friends from being shot.
Right. if they have already been shot, yeah.
The one thing that I really do like about this movie, like the way that it like sets it, like the way that it structures its like shots and plots and stuff, is that like there's no like transition scenes. We just fucking go to the next thing where we are, which is really nice, honestly, to like kind of like cut out some of like the middleman of like, oh, and then they're in a car and then they get out of a helicopter and then they're there. And like to just be like, okay, we're there. Here's what we're doing.
Yeah, no,
it's like sometimes really nice to just be like, okay, here we are, and then other times it's extremely jarring, and it's kind of
except for that one scene where he does pull-ups.
Yeah, like it's weird when it's like super effective, and when you're like, wait, where the fuck are we? I thought we were dead. Like it's weird when it works versus when it doesn't work, and if that's intentional or not.
But then
Christopher Nolan, of course, it's all intentional.
But I think, at some point you're like, oh, well, has he always been inverted? Like, and how many of these people are also inverted? Like, what's happening?
Inverted?
Who knows who's from what timeline?
Right.
It's so the thing that I really love Inception. I saw Inception in theaters when I was in 8th grade, and I put it on my iPod Nano. I was a big fan of Inception.
Hell yeah.
But like what I don't super love about it is that like the ambiguity kind of takes away. For me, it takes away from like what I think should be the like main catharsis of the movie. I feel like it kind of closes it off somewhat to me. Like the end when the top is spinning. Like I think that I don't know, I just don't want it to be like with other like, oh, he's actually wearing a ring and that's his thing. So if you think about it, he actually isn't home or blah blah blah. I feel like it takes away. Whereas like this movie just like gives you more and more and more. And with every line that you rehear, you're like, is there going to be a sequel? Because I gotta know what that line means.
I bet there is. I mean, look, Christopher Nolan is, or like Warner Brothers has pissed off Christopher Nolan big time with their whole HBO Max deal. But in a non-pandemic world, I think there is definitely a non-zero chance where there's like an HBO Maxi series with Robert Pattinson and John David Washington going on adventures for 8 episodes.
God, that's so bad.
That would be so great.
They
got such good chemistry.
Yeah, it's so good. I want that very badly. I can hold out hope that maybe that'll happen. And another thing I just think is fun, because they find out that Kenneth Branagh has this inversion machine. And they're like, well, we can put you in it, but you can't come back because you'll be moving into the past where we didn't have access to it, where Kenneth Branagh was the only person who had access to it. And they're like, that is a problem, but we know that there is one in wherever it is where the
in 14 days.
Yeah.
Right?
So they have to go over there in order to access another one to uninvert themselves, which I think is really fun.
Backwards boat.
Smart
you
boy
get more
crowd,
boats,
knowing
but
it was them
backwards.
all along.
Backwards boats. Backwards seagulls. He steps in that puddle, and the car smoke, and the clouds and stuff.
Wait, we forgot to talk about the interrogation part where she does get shot, and like you hear like on one side the inverted people, like they're speaking backwards and then it projects like what they said
Right.
forwards.
I don't get that
But
at all.
I don't
no,
either.
because then when you go back, like you realize that like he was actually having the conversation was backwards for us too.
Right.
So the response happened before the question. It was like it's so good.
And
It
it's
is
so weird
good.
because you sort of realize that because he's having to do it all in reverse when he's shooting Elizabeth Debicki, it's like he's mostly just bluffing. He's counting on it being intense for JD Washington on the other side. So he's like, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to shoot her and then count up from 1 to 3.
Yeah. Well, it's like
Just-
it's the opposite of bluffing. He's like,
Well,
I'm
yeah.
gonna shoot her.
I have
no matter
already
what.
done
I
it.
hope you're upset.
Yeah,
Anyway.
I have already done this. I hope that you're upset enough by that to tell me what I need to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just trying to spook him off.
Yeah.
He's like,
What I don't get is when he goes into the reverse machine and does that, and then they're like, we don't know where in time he is. But then he's on the boat from the flashback from before, which I didn't get that part. But I also don't get where the him, if this is the him from the future, where's the him that was actually there? Did he just like kill him? Like, where is he? Or
We're
is it
seeing
always him? I hate this.
Yeah, we're seeing the same Kenneth Branagh this whole movie. This
Yes.
movie basically, I can't think of any exceptions where it wouldn't be like his personal timeline is lined up with the movie's timeline, right?
Okay, because like she was like, we were in Thailand in the past, and that's when we had that big fight, but that was
Right.
like the last time that I like loved him, and so he was like, okay, so I'm gonna go back to that time.
Right.
But was that
But
always? But it's
I think that is.
Was it always this version of him there?
No.
No, I
That
think
wouldn't make
that's
any
2014 Thanos. I think that's 2014 Thanos, where
No,
where
because-
because at the beginning of the movie he's like, yeah, well we did have one really nice moment, or is he just he wouldn't plant that seed because he would know that he'd be in trouble.
Well,
So I don't
no,
think wait.
he's going back to a moment where neither of them are on the boat. Because when Elizabeth Debicki shows up, that like cabin boy is like, "Oh, I thought you had just gone ashore. Welcome back," because she is ashore, and he says like the same thing.
Yeah, you
like,
see her on the boat.
Presumably,
Look
at him,
the
okay.
Adeline, wait, presumably the Kenneth Branagh and the Elizabeth Debicki of that moment when they were in Vietnam are both somewhere else, and the future Kenneth Branagh and Elizabeth Debicki are hanging out on this boat, but they each don't know that the other is from the future.
So they're both
Oh,
pretending
yeah,
to be
because
the
they
ones from the
both-
past.
They're both like, haha, I came back to surprise you. No,
Exactly.
I came back to surprise you.
Yeah.
You're right.
I'm
And
gonna
they're
put
both from the
lotion on your
future.
back, and by put lotion on your back, I mean the floor's slippery.
It puts the
Die.
lotion on its skin, or else I'm gonna push you off the boat and
Push
shoot
him
you in
off
the
the boat.
face.
Shoot you with a flare gun.
Yeah. You know
that
scene-
that
the
seems
only
brutal.
good part. Yeah. No, it's like the only good part from or I almost said Teen Titans from King Kong, when they like the original King Kong, where they're like dropping the dummies into the ravine when King
Right.
Kong is like shaking the people off the log, and you just see these dummies just like tumble down and like hit their heads on rocks, and you're like, ooh.
Right.
It's like that, but it's a real ass person.
Like falling
and it's
off
the
the
year
yacht.
2020.
Yeah, it's so good.
Like, I mean, he's already dead, but like, damn, you didn't have to
Like,
go that
dang,
hard.
his head like
Like-
hits the railing.
Right.
Like, he could have, just fallen off the boat.
Yeah.
And then
That's what it feels.
and I'm trying to
No,
think
smacked
between
out.
that whole deal, is there anything we're missing before the temporal pincer movement?
No.
Cool, because the temporal
no.
pincer movement's sick as shit.
Oh my god, it's so freaking good.
And there's that
It's so
part
good.
where the guy gets like sealed in the wall in a backwards explosion.
Yeah, that part's cool.
So good.
At one point, I was like, don't show any forward explosions. I don't want to see, I only want backward explosions. I waited all this time to see backwards explosions. And then at one point, when Robert Pattinson's driving around in that Jeep, you see both at the same time.
Yeah.
It's like one's going into the ground and one's coming out of the ground. And it's so freaking cool. I take it back. I'm so sorry, Christopher Nolan, that I doubted you. I shouldn't doubt you. I knew it.
And
I'm
like
sorry.
there is like, it's just one of those things that to try to explain, like, makes your head hurt, like, on purpose, where it's like, okay, it's a battle where both armies have people moving forwards in time and backwards in time. The first wave, quote unquote, are the people moving backwards in time, who hang out, scope it out, see what's going on. They're still kind of fighting, but they're mostly observing. And they tell the people who are going forwards in time exactly what's going to happen, so they know exactly what to do when they get out there, so they can do a good job in the battle. But the thing about that is that the other side is doing exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
So it's like,
it's all for naught.
so it's like, how do you win or lose? How could anybody ever win or lose this battle? You know, it's so crazy.
No, there's no fatalities.
Yeah.
That, I mean, like, because the thing is, they could have just been like, all right, we got two teams. One's moving forward, one's moving backward. Let's go. But instead, Christopher Nolan was like, no, I'm going to melt their brains off. I'm going to add all of this that literally doesn't change a single thing about this fight scene. And I'm going to make it so that they don't understand anything. They're going to be so confused, but it's going to be great. And I followed right along. I was right there.
I'm so
It was
pumped
a
up by
journey.
this movie. And then at the
It was
end, when they've got the algorithm, and it just becomes this Mexican standoff where it's like, we gotta kill each other, right? Okay, honor roll, honor system. We'll all kill ourselves at some point in the future.
Just kidding.
And they're like,
And then you're like, oh my God, did that happen in the movie? And I wasn't paying attention because I didn't know that that was even a thing. Because you know that, spoiler alert, also this whole thing has been spoilers.
I did see it.
Spoiler alert, it's all been a temporal pincer unit movement.
Shut up.
We've actually been speaking in reverse this whole time. So what you've heard has actually been nonsense. We're actually talking about Trolls World Tour. I don't know. But we find out that Robert Pattinson, was the secret man with the secret fun little charm backpack, the man with the plan.
Right. And he was at the opera earlier.
He was at the opera earlier, shot the reverse bullet, and he also was the one who got shot when they saved the algorithm.
Yeah, that's
the
so sick.
of
That moment where the dead body just sort of rises up and catches a bullet in the head.
Yeah, you're like, oh dip.
That's so wild.
Dip. And then you're like, and then Robert Pattinson's like, fun fact, you hired me. You in the future have so many plans. All of this has been because of you, and you're my best friend, and I would take a bullet for you any day because I love you. Now you're gonna go meet me, but I've already experienced everything with you. This is reality anyway. Peace out. I can't wait to see you. I love you.
It's so good. It's the best movie ever. And
he's like sobbing. He's like, but we just met. And he's like, no, we haven't. It's cool.
So good. I feel like the Galaxy Brain meme. This movie makes me feel so smart. And like I know I said this already, but like every time some character actor just shows up and starts explaining things to me, I'm like, yes, please, more of this, as much of this as possible. I want
you need to take a cold shower, my guy.
I want people to tell me more rules. I want all the rules. I love them.
Like the rules. And like, this movie isn't perfect, obviously. Like, there's things that I still have questions about, things that I think might have been tweaked. Like, one, at the beginning of the opera, did they kill all those people? Are they just sitting there dead in their seats? Or are they sleeping?
I thought they were asleep.
They got knocked out by, like, knockout gas, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, because they were going to knock out the terrorists, but the terrorists knew better.
Okay, that's what I wasn't sure. I feel like I just missed that both times somehow.
Well, because why would he care about moving the bombs if they were all dead anyway?
I know, that's why I was confused. I was like, what point did they become passed out? And like, it never happens again. So it's like,
right, fair enough.
What? Also, when they're like pushing the gold bricks out of the plane,
yeah,
I was like,
so
there's a
good.
reason. Like, it looks so cool, but I was like, I don't really. Why did they get rid of those gold bricks?
It's just a big
What's the point of the
fucking
bricks?
distraction. I don't know. It's just
I know,
fun.
but I was like, I know. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
I didn't understand those things, but it didn't matter to me because this
Right.
movie is so excellent and like it swings so hard that like it's a home run. And even if you don't think it's a home run, it's a triple and the outfielder wasn't paying attention, messed up, so it didn't get back to home plate in time. You got a home run anyway.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about this movie.
You just been watching baseball?
I played softball a lot when I was a kid. I played for like 10 years.
Oh, well.
And like,
So
you know,
yes.
I feel like this was a conversation a lot of people were having when Inception came out, which they
Mhm.
haven't really been having, mostly just because this movie hasn't really been getting talked about as much as it probably would have in normal circumstances, because they made it
Yeah.
so hard to get a hold of. And you
Yep.
still can't rent it yet, so maybe we should have waited to do
Yeah.
this until after you could rent it, but whatever.
Yeah, I had to go to a red box like a
Right.
freaking caveman.
Yeah, exactly. Which is the best way to rent it. If anybody wants to watch it still before like the 9th, when you can rent it for $4 on whatever, you can get it from a Redbox for like $2, a DVD kiosk. That's the best way. Anyway,
But here's the thing is that if you have the $20, at first I was like, I'm pissed. I just want to rent this. What if I don't like the movie?
right.
I don't need this. And now I'm so thankful that I spent just $20 on this movie. It's
Right.
so good. It's worth it.
I bought the Blu-ray.
It's worth it for the rewatches.
I rented it. I rented it first from a Redbox the day it came out because I was like, hell yeah, Tenet, I want to watch it again. And then like the next day after I returned it, I like woke up that morning in a cold sweat. I was like, I gotta see those bonus features. I gotta go buy the Blu-ray, but get those bonus features. And I went to those bonies. I've been calling them feachies, but I guess bonies
feeties.
is much better.
The feeties.
The feeties. But like I was at Target at like 10 a.m. buying the Tenet Blu-ray like some kind of crazy person because I was just like, I gotta get those bonies.
Well,
and
that's
just-
the thing is that Jackson and I have been talking about this movie for over a year because we've been so pumped. Like way before there was any sign of a pandemic.
Right, yeah.
We were like, we're going to go see Tenet in theaters together and it's going to be awesome and it's going to be great and we're pumped.
Yeah,
And then
sucks.
the world shut down and the Tenet did not come out in theaters and Jackson moved to a different state where he could go to a drive-in movie and
Right.
see Tenet. And I've been sitting here like a plebeian waiting and praying for the day that I can watch Tenet.
Yeah.
And I'm so thankful that literally 18 months of anticipation wasn't wasted.
Yeah. Although I will say, drive-in theater, tremendously bad Tenet viewing experience.
That
Because
sounds like the worst.
Okay.
Yeah, because of, not only is it kind of hard to see stuff sometimes, but also listening to the audio through an FM radio, especially with the way Christopher Nolan mixes his dialogue, not ideal.
Fair.
Chris.
But anyway, what my point I was trying to get to earlier was like, is a movie that requires multiple viewings to understand, is that a flaw of the movie? Like,
Yeah,
would a better movie?
I've seen a lot.
Can I finish my? Sorry, like
Yes, I'm sorry.
And basically, I was doing a little bit of thinking about this because this is absolutely one of those. You don't really get it the first time. And then if you watch it, like at least for me, 3 times in, every time I've watched it, I felt like I've understood it better and felt smarter while I was watching it. And like, what I've sort of landed on is like, it doesn't matter. Because me sitting down and watching Tenet for the 3rd time, I had a goddamn blast. And like, regardless of what I had to do to get to that point, whether or not like it would have been better if I could have that same experience the first time around, it doesn't change the fact that I had a goddamn blast today sitting down and watching Tenet for the 3rd time. You know? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Adeline.
Well, what I was gonna say is I think that this, because of the like bad reviews that I've seen of Tenet, it has been that this is the total like, this is the opinion I've seen, that this movie is just like the total like guy who's a film major who's an asswipe who wants to explain everything to you and like It's like the joke is, it's like this is the movie that your boyfriend's gonna make you watch because
Right.
like it's just like that total just like intelligence, but like in a fake way. Like that's how people are
Right.
describing it. Like where it's just basically the conversation like boils down to like does complicated equals good,
Right.
which is not always true for every film. But I
Right.
would argue for Tenet that Tenet is sold as this is incredibly complicated and that's the fun part, you know,
Right.
like that's the selling point. And like yeah, it boils down to the conversation because I think that saying just complicated equals good across the board is not true. And I would also argue that the fact that it's complicated is not the only thing good about Tenet. Like, if
Right.
the only thing good about it was that there was a billion rules and you had to watch it 3 times, I don't even think you would enjoy it, Jackson. It's all the other parts along with that
Yeah,
that
probably.
you signed up for. That's what makes it good.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I
I think even if you look back at what we've been saying, like we haven't been like, wasn't it great how confusing it was? Like we were like, it was confusing, but the great thing was like the performances and the ways that the characters unfolded
right.
in like a really interesting way, and
Mhm.
explosions in reverse and forward. It
Right.
can't hurt.
And it's a temporal
Like-
pincer movement.
Really well executed fight scenes and like action sequences, which happened in real life.
Right.
Yeah.
Sick as hell.
It's so sick. And I think that that's one of those things. It's like there are a lot of movies that make you feel smart because they deploy really complicated ideas in simple to understand ways. And that is one of, at least in my opinion, that's one of my favorite things that a movie can do, is make me feel smart, you know?
Mhm.
And people, it's an awesome feeling, but people love to take movies that make you feel smart. What makes you feel smart about a movie like that is that they present things that feel complicated in a way that's easy to understand. And people love to be like, it's not that hard to understand. Which is like, yes, that's why it makes you feel smart. That's why it's so fun to watch. And
yeah, it's because it's simple. Yeah.
a movie that is genuinely hard to understand and you genuinely need to be smart in order to understand it would not be a good movie. It would be inscrutable and inaccessible to most people. And that
What's
is...
my dumb representation? Speak up.
Yeah, I mean, I'm...
My dum-dums that sound off.
Do you get what I'm trying to say? Am I making sense?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I think that like it all depends on how well the movie was executed. Like there are lots of movies that have big plot twists that sometimes, or like a lot of little nuggets that have been planted
Right.
that sometimes are hugely beneficial and sometimes are just there so that it feels like you're putting pieces together.
Right.
Christopher Nolan is so good at planting seeds but making sure they're reapable at the end.
Right.
Or like
Mhm.
The Sixth Sense, the first, again, spoilers for The Sixth Sense. Sorry if you haven't seen it, this decades old movie by
Right.
now.
See, that's the opposite.
But,
Sixth
like-
Sense made me feel like a goddamn idiot when I watched
But
it.
like that's the thing. The first time that you watch The Sixth Sense, you're like, oh my god, of course.
Right.
Like when you watch, and then when you go back and watch it, you're like, oh yeah, like
That's
I
when
didn't
you feel
notice that the
smart.
first time. Because it wasn't obvious the first time. Like
Right.
I wasn't supposed to know that him being in a fight with his wife was actually them not being able to communicate because he's dead. Because it seems like a very normal thing to just not, if your marriage is struggling because
Right.
of a huge event, that you're not communicating well.
Right.
Or like there are seeds like, oh, ghosts only see what they want to see, and we're only looking through the perspective of this ghost. So of course we're seeing what he wants to see. Like those seeds are planted, but then they're also reaped at the end, and that's awesome. Whereas like, let's look at the new Star Wars trilogy. We're planting seeds in the ground for what? Because they're cool, and you want the audience to talk about the seeds, but why is the audience talking about seeds? So that you can see what they are at the end.
Right.
But
They
they were
introduced
nothing.
the Knights of Ren, and
Yeah.
then have them all die for the only 30 seconds that they're on screen.
Exactly. Like, it's like, oh, Knights of Ren. How did they get Anakin Skywalker's lightsaber? Who are
Why
Rey's
in here?
parents? Who is Snoke? What's gonna happen?
Right.
And like,
And then we
it's
change farms.
it's just like ideas for ideas' sake, and there's no payoff and no
Right.
rhyme or reason. And Christopher Nolan literally spent a decade thinking about what this movie would be. So like, there's definitely like intention and thoughtfulness, and like he put things in for a reason, not just because, oh, wouldn't this be fun to talk about, but like there's thematic reasoning behind it.
Because like Christopher Nolan, like it's easy to say, like Christopher Nolan is the king of movies that make you feel smart. Like,
Yes.
every single one of his movies makes you in the audience feel like a goddamn genius. And like that, people who hate Christopher Nolan are like, the people who love Christopher Nolan movies think they're so smart for like understanding them and being into them. Where it's like, that's the point. Like, it's not that they, I guess I feel like I'm just repeating myself, but it's like, it's not that they are actually intellectual. They shouldn't, you shouldn't have to actually be that smart to understand them. It makes you feel smart. That's why it's good. Anyway.
Yeah. Well,
Like,
I think the
it just
reason why
becomes
people
exclusionary.
hate people who like Christopher Nolan is because you get that everybody gets it. But I think the guy who's super into Christopher Nolan doesn't get that everybody else gets it also, you know?
Yeah.
Like, that's just that
Or,
kind
like-
of jerk who's like, let me explain it to you. Even though the movie, the whole thing that the
Explains
movie
it to
did
you.
was explain it.
Yeah, I think like a movie that like induces more thinking will draw in a certain type of person. Like, oh, I only like No Country for Old Men and the Dark Knight series, but not the first one or the third one. But then like you're hating on people for like, I like Clueless because it makes me feel something, or I like the How to Train Your Dragon series because
I like Frozen 2.
I'm a Frozen 2 stan.
I am.
But like, you like the Christopher Nolan movies because they make you feel something. So you just let people like what they like, and don't be an exclusionist pig who's like, you have to be this, your IQ must be this high to ride. Or else you could
Sorry.
No, I was done.
Okay, cool.
I was trying to come up with a bit, but
there's a big movement of people just like being annoyed at certain movies because certain people like them, but like The Dark Knight and There Will Be Blood and whatever other like boyfriend makes you watch this movies are good movies. Like, just because a certain kind of person,
because you love Fight Club.
Yeah, Fight Club's a great one too. Like, these are movies that like, it's this weird thing where like, I don't know, it's just so inherently dismissive of these like incredible movies for no other reason than just that like you don't like a certain kind of that you don't like your boyfriend. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, there was some Twitter thing that somebody posted that was like, if your boyfriend ever makes you watch one of his dumb man movies, the trick is to just like, you can nap, but then when the music gets really loud, just say whoa under your breath and he'll totally buy it. And somebody's response to that was like, this is the millennial equivalent of boomers talking about hating their wives. Like, it's just that kind of thing that drives me crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
if
like, someone
if you
is
don't
really
like the movies that your boyfriend likes, what is your relationship based on? Like, really?
like, you know, there's like a trope that was really common in like the mid 2000s sitcoms where it would be like, oh my gosh, you found a girlfriend that likes Star Wars.
Right, yeah.
Or like, I'm gonna show my fiance Star Wars, and if she doesn't like it, we can't get married because I love Star Wars.
Right.
And only men love Star Wars. But like, whatever. Like, lots of people like lots of different kinds of movies.
Yeah.
I've never been shown a Christopher Nolan movie by my boyfriend, but I really enjoy them because they're fun for me. I don't know. I just think it's stupid. I want it. I let the past die. Kill it if you have to. Invert it
Exactly.
if you have to. Let it meet its algorithmic end if you have to. This is a dumb trope. I hate it.
Right.
Stop it, Twitter.
Keisha,
Yeah.
So Keisha, you've triggered me. So Rise of Skywalker, please. You've seen it, right? Yes.
Rise of Skywalker. Yes, I have.
Yeah, Jackson hasn't seen it yet,
Nope.
and kid, it's
I
just
know.
fucking. I hate that movie maybe more than any movie I've ever watched. I hate it so much.
I think it will. It will undoubtedly be the most disappointing movie that I have ever consumed in my entire life, or ever
it
will
just
consume.
It just fucking like destroy the past. That's literally what this movie does. You know, all the two other movies that we had made and watched and all really liked. What if those movies just weren't? What if they just weren't, and we just did whatever the fuck we wanted instead? What if BB-8 just kind of fell off of a ship and we never saw him ever again? What if we did that? What if fucking the opening scene was just Kylo Ren choosing the dark side after he said he wouldn't 2 minutes earlier in canon? Like, just fucking.
Yeah, they should have listened to
anything. I
Christopher
fucking hate
Nolan.
Rise of Skywalker.
They should have listened to Christopher Nolan. What's happened happened. We must move forward.
What's happened.
So
But
ignore
they
the entire
didn't.
conversation we just had. If your boyfriend makes you watch Rise of Skywalker, dump his ass.
So what do you guys, before we start to wrap things up, what do you guys think about the whole Christopher Nolan's dialogue mixing has been a very hot button issue in the last few months. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
I didn't notice it.
I didn't either. It wasn't a distraction for me.
Right.
I literally don't know what you're talking about.
Well, because he's very much the kind of guy, he mixes his movies assuming an optimal viewing experience.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many scenes where there's like an airplane running or they're like on a boat where the dialogue is being very heavily influenced by the loud background noises. People said this a lot about Dunkirk too, which was also true of Dunkirk.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's a war movie. There's gonna be a lot of loud sounds.
well, but a lot of it like takes places on boats and stuff. It's like it takes place on a beach, and the ocean's really loud most of the time.
Yeah, have you been to the ocean?
But this was
that
just
bitch
like
is loud.
this breaking point where people were like, especially because a lot of people were seeing it in drive-ins, people were like, I can't understand anything anybody says in this movie because the dialogue is mixed so poorly, is what they say. But I don't. I think it is really cool in an optimal viewing experience, though. When you're at home and you're watching it loud in the dark, and maybe you've got closed captions on, maybe you don't, like, it feels really cool. It's almost like he mixes everything just quiet enough so that it's, like, right on that threshold of, like, being able to understand it clearly, you know? And I think it's just cool. It feels different. It gives Christopher Nolan's movies sort of like an auditory signature, I guess, that I think
like
I really do
mumblecore.
like. It's like mumblecore.
I think
People just need to not be afraid to put captions on.
Yeah.
And I'm speaking as someone who used to hate captions. I'd be like, turn the captions off. We can all hear. And then I started watching movies with Jackson. And this is legit. This is a true story. I was like, oh, actually, this is fine. Like, literally, who cares? Like, it's words on the screen.
oh, actually, who gives a shit?
And sometimes I need the captions because I didn't super understand what they were saying. Or if you're watching the Great British Baking Show, you literally can't watch that without the captions because otherwise you're just hearing mumble Jerry nonsense.
Right.
So just be okay with words on the bottom of the screen.
Yeah.
And then you can watch lots of different kinds of movies that aren't in English. It's crazy. It's crazy.
So here's the thing, though. This is an issue that I have. I have fine hearing. I've got terrible hearing comprehension. Where, like, I will hear something, but I will not, like, actually register what I'm hearing. Like, sometimes it takes me a second. Like, if you have a conversation with me in person, it happens all the time. I don't get it as much with, like, movies and music and stuff, but I do definitely... I definitely still get it. So I did get that a little bit, where if I know someone's just saying, like, if someone's just like, I know someone's just like explaining something and I can't, and it takes me a second to like comprehend what they're saying, I'll just be like, and then they explain something, moving on, you know? I did get that a little bit, just a tiny bit with Tenet. I feel like with Dunkirk, I would just not have any clue what anybody's saying, even if I am hearing what they're saying.
Well, there's
you know?
also there's not a lot of dialogue in Dunkirk.
Yeah, and is it really
Like,
important?
we know what happened in Dunkirk.
All right.
because
Yeah,
This is a historic depiction.
dialogue
The
ain't gonna
Allies
change
won.
it. Yeah.
Oh my god, what's gonna happen? I'm so excited. Can I tell a short anecdote before we end things?
Yes.
It's actually not my own anecdote, but my friend went to see this movie in theaters in San Diego, so it was safe and fine at that time.
Right.
And he he walked into the movie theater and was like, "Oh, okay, we missed like the first 20 seconds, but it'll be fine. We'll figure it out." Turns out he walked into the wrong theater, walked in like a third, 2/5 of the way into the movie, and was just lost. But
That's
like
so good.
sat through the whole thing because he was like, "Oh, it's supposed to be confusing because it's a Christopher Nolan and
That's
it'll
just
make
what
sense."
this movie feels
figure it
like
out.
in a kind of way.
And was just like I don't at the very end was like, I really don't get what just happened.
That movie
and
was
then-
only 45 minutes
Don't get
long.
it.
I wonder.
Yeah. and then they like found out, but at that point in time it was like right before movie theaters were closing again.
Right. Oh, so they
So they
just
were
never
like-
saw the whole thing?
So they were like, "We can refund you tickets, I guess, but you're gonna you can't use them." So we had to wait until it came out.
People were so
Stream
excited
movie.
about Dunkirk being short that Christopher Nolan was like, "Fuck it, this one's 25 minutes. This one's gonna air on ABC."
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, like they figured out, they were like, that was only that was like an hour and a half. It's supposed to be 2.5 hours. Oh my
That's
god.
so funny. I'm so tempted right now because I've heard a lot of anecdotal stories from people on the internet saying like a lot of the times people who are comfortable going to movie theaters, which I'm pretty much not, but they said like most of the time when you go in there, they're empty. People aren't seeing movies right now. So realistically, the danger's quite low because 90% of the time you're the only person in there. And that's really got my gears turning. I think I might go see the new Tom Hanks movie in theaters if I could go see it like during the day on a Tuesday. And just
What's the Tom Hanks movie?
news of the world. He's a cowboy in it.
It's like Tom Hanks has officially breached into old man roles. Like he was in
could be a
like
cowboy now.
midlife for quite some time, but ever since Mr. Rogers, old man roles.
Right.
No going back.
Because it's...
And I'm not mad about it.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I've heard it's like okay. There's also a movie called Promising Young Woman that people say is really good. That's only in theaters for whatever reason. We're finally hitting that point where there are like a few movies I might actually want to see that are only in theaters. So
Promising Young Woman, the one with the lady who pretends to be drunk.
I'm not sure. I haven't even seen the trailer or anything.
That's okay.
There are a lot of movies that I just like hear about that people are just like, this is great. This is like one of the great movies this year. I'm like, cool, I'll see it. Like, I don't need to necessarily be sold on it because I watch everything as much as I can, you know? So I just hear like the title of a movie and say like, it's really good. I'll be like, tight. And I'll just go in cold and I'm happy about it.
I'm gonna start recommending you movies that I know are not good. I just want to see what'll throw off the algorithm.
This is the movie of 2021. That's
Okay.
two.
I like. I
The
highly
Shark Boy
recommend.
and Lava Girl sequel.
Well, people do
Yes.
say that that's good, so.
Dude, listen.
Hell yeah.
How come they cut Taylor Lautner out though? What up with that?
Did they? Is that the deal?
I am sure
I
he
don't
said
think
no.
No, we don't know for sure. What else is Taylor Lautner even doing right now? He could have done Shark Boy and Lava Girl too.
Okay, I'm
He's
looking up.
cultivating his own self-respect.
So I'm looking up a review. I'm gonna do my best to see if I can find this is a boy movie for boys, and that's why it's bad. I bet I can find one
Well,
of
while
those
you
pretty
do
quick.
that, let me tell you about some information. Thank you for listening to our podcast. It was our first podcast of 2021, the year that everything changes and everything's good. Actually, did you know coronavirus is gone 100% now? Just kidding.
Yeah, it's over.
Wear your mask still. Wear your mask. I'm not joking.
For
But
the love of God.
If you liked what you heard, you can like the video, comment, subscribe. Thank you to all of our new subscribers and listeners. If you're interested in listening to some other podcasts or watching some other videos, you can go ahead. There's plenty of them. There are like almost 100 podcasts to listen to. That's pretty exciting. Or
Yeah,
you can follow us
up there. They've almost broken 100.
or you can follow us on Twitter at No Nerds Pod, or you can follow Jackson at oh my gosh, I messed it up again. I'm gonna be fired. Or you can follow Jackson McMurray at Jepperpack, like Pepper Jack the cheese, but switched. Or you can follow Adeline at Hollaback Horse. I tried to make a Twitter over break, and I didn't do anything with it, and they suspended my account. So maybe I'll have one by next week.
What? How did you get your account suspended?
I literally did nothing, and then I tried to log in, and they were like, you are a bot, so we suspended your account. So I had to send a plea into Twitter and be like, I'm not a bot. I just don't know what to do with my Twitter account yet. But maybe I'll have one next week. But for now, you can follow my sister. I think it's at Maddie_Rhodes. She's funny. She says funny things sometimes. So give her a shout. That's all the things, I think.
Okay.
You can listen to us on Spotify. Yeet.
That's true. We're on everything.
Our new hot track.
Apple. Whatever. Where all podcasts are sold. They're free.
This guy says, this is a turn of phrase that I'm obsessed with. This guy says, this movie unironically sucks.
What movie ironically sucks?
If that's not something a 19-year-old would say, like, I don't know what is. Like, that feels like the perfect encapsulation of where we are as a society, for sure.
I just want to know what ironic sucking would even look like.
I don't want to use that as the actual one, but
that's really funny though.
I like that one.
I'm gonna start saying that about
this
everything.
Unironically sucks.
Sucks.
Oh, you read Frankenstein this year? That unironically sucks. Frankenstein's my favorite book, so please don't at me in the comments.
Shelley, what? The original goth GF.
She's great. Also, her mother, Mary Wollstonecraft, I think is how it's pronounced. I might be wrong.
Okay.
Please don't hate me. She's the founder of feminism. Fun fact.
Okay, so I've got 2 reviews from the same person. This is a 1-2 punch, okay?
Oh,
okay.
just like what is one in reverse?
So, first review, one half of 1 star, 1 out of 10. They say, I've logged this so many times, I'm scared to actually watch it. Christopher Nolan, give me strength. Today will be the day, I hope. 3 days later, another review. It's unbearably shit. I can't watch anymore. I got 48 minutes in and I'm done.
This person.
I don't know.
I love Christopher Nolan. Give me strength to watch your movie that I've been putting off. I fucking hate it, dog. Like, what?
Okay, alright. Do we want to just go back? Maybe I'll just give myself a setup so we can put the it unironically sucks in there instead. I'll re-record the setup and then I'll just splice in the other one. Is that cool with you?
Cool.
Whatever Frankenstein shit you want to do, go for
Okay.
it.
So hey, do you guys want to hear a 1-star review of Tenet?
One
No.
hundo P.
Great. And then I put in what I said earlier. Great.
Cool.
Movie magic.
Wow.
Live.
This is great for the stream. Okay, perfect. I'm gonna go ahead and stop the podcast.
Turn off YouTube.
Podcast.
How do I turn off the podcast? Where's the delete button?
I'm gonna algorithm the podcast.
Flipping a big switch. Thank you guys for listening to us babble about Tenet for 90 minutes. Oh no.
Try
Also,
to explain
Cade-
Tenet while explaining what we don't understand.
Yeah, it's true. Also, Cade, I have been shouting out someone random on Twitter the whole time that I've been on this podcast. But I'm glad that you picked it up this time.
I'm so
Next time
I don't think you can
I'll
ever
plug your
get a
Twitter if you
Twitter because
want.
that's my favorite goof.
That's fair.
I'm so happy to see so many people in this chat popping in and out. And it's not a lot of
Look
people
at all us.
in the great scheme of things, I know that, but like somebody named Countdown, Matthew Clark chimed in a few times. This Mouse Man, I feel bad for this person because they appear to have just tuned in now that we're about to finish the stream called Cool Mind 12. We're very happy to have you. We're glad to see you. Sorry you missed it, but
I like your eye emoji.
yeah.
I'm gonna put the
Answered
little
my
jabbing
peanut
guy
butter
'cause he's
question
my
though,
favorite.
so
And Spook Show
But that's
Reviews. Spook Show Reviews who
Spook
showed
Show
up at the
Reviews.
beginning and then didn't say anything the rest of the time.
Then maybe they're here, maybe they're not.
Well, okay, Cool Mind 12. Here's the broad and short of it. Keisha and I think it's the best movie that's ever been made, and Adeline hates it, wants it to die.
Hold on, I
True.
watched it once.
That's
No,
not-
it's not.
Adeline just needs to watch it again.
I just need to watch it a second time.
Don't exclude her. Don't boyfriend exclude her.
Don't silence me.
So,
It's
okay,
really good.
here's
Cool
a fun
Man.
story.
Cool main.
Anna and I watched Sound of Metal the other day, which is definitely my favorite movie of the year, where Riz Ahmed plays a guy who's like a heavy metal drummer who has like permanent hearing loss, and the whole movie is about him like, you know, learning how to transition into a new life as being deaf from being hearing his whole life. And it's so tremendously good. And Riz Ahmed is giving, like, easily, I think, the best performance of the year in that movie. It's so great. And Anna was like, who is that guy? I know him from something. I was like, well, he's sort of the mousy pilot in Rogue One. Is that what you're thinking of? And she's like, no. And I was like, oh, he's the guy who says don't silence her in Venom. And she was like, oh, that's who it is.
That happened to me. I watched the like Tina Fey hosts Broadway. I watched some of the little clippies.
Right.
And there was one from Mean Girls the musical, which I know you guys haven't seen, but
Right.
the girl who was singing, I was like, I know this voice from somewhere. I just can't tell what it is. And she like wasn't listed like for the current player. I was looking all over. I was trying to find her like playbill, and I found it finally and realized I didn't know her from anything. And then I listened to it again, and she just sounds like our friend Bailey a little bit. Like, that was it. I was like,
Nice.
oh, it sounds like Bailey Hepler.
Have we gotten Bailey on this podcast? Maybe we should get Bailey on this podcast.
Talking to
Oh,
Bailey.
yeah.
I haven't talked to Bailey in so long.
That's
I love
true.
Bailey.
Yeah.
Bailey's great.
Trying to think who we
Yeah.
gotta get.
Gotta get that.
And when I bust a rhyme, you break your neck.
Yeah.
Okay, are we done? Are we ready to sign off? You guys have
Are we
anything else to
done?
say to the people at home?
If you didn't know, it's the season 13 premiere of RuPaul's Drag Race is happening
Wow.
soon.
Okay.
So I'm pretty pumped about it.
Okay.
I don't know about you.
Plugging
I
RuPaul's
thought-
Drag Race.
I thought we did.
That's
like
what I'm gonna
RuPaul.
go watch the second that I get off of this thing.
Oh,
But that's all.
super
I-
quick. We
oh.
are 2 weeks away from the WandaVision premiere.
Yeah.
Those episodes are gonna come out on Fridays. Can we commit to watching those before we stream every week for the next
Yeah.
few weeks?
Sure.
Yep.
'Cause
I'm so excited
I'm
for
so
them.
tremendously hyped for that show. Oh my god. Did you see?
I
don't remember if I already told you this. Did you see that they have real life live studio audiences for all the sitcom
Yes!
segments on that show? How crazy is that?
I'm so excited. I'm so excited for it.
You know what I bet? This is my prediction. This is my official WandaVision prediction. I bet it's gonna make me feel smart.
Yeah, probably. It's gonna be alternate universe
And
stuff.
and here's my official WandaVision prediction. It's gonna make me feel things, and that's what I want out of a movie or
Hell yeah.
television program.
yeah.
That
know
it
who-
makes me feel
Feel.
smart. and makes me feel things.
I've been doing some thinking, and I think Paul Bettany is my favorite actor.
Have you been doing some feeling?
That
Yeah.
tracks.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
I feel good. I feel good about that decision. Paul Bettany just rules. I love him so much.
Yeah, Paul Bettany's great. He's real good.
Okay, well, thanks everybody.
Oh, hey, wait.
Yeah,
hold
Happy
on.
New Year, everyone.
Look at the
Oh, wait.
new art that I did. I did
Oh,
new
yeah.
art.
Yeah,
Got a
isn't it
whole new-
beautiful?
Whole new rebrand.
Yeah,
You
and-
decide whose emblems are whose. Bet you
Whoa.
can't.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say who is who. I was
Oh.
like, I mean, I guess. I guess
Think
so you
your
don't
guess
know.
who is who. Who's the boyfriend that makes you watch Tenet?
Tag
Tag
yourself,
yourself.
I'm the boyfriend who makes you watch Tenet.
Surprise, it's actually all of them.
Which literally I am. I suppose literally I am
Yeah,
that.
you literally are. You did literally do that.
Do you think that Anna would not have watched it without you at all?
She actually hasn't seen
Like,
it.
Oh, well.
Okay, well,
She
so
said
you're
she
going
wanted.
to be
No, yeah, she
in
said she
the
wanted to watch it.
past.
Oh, I will
I'm
have
just-
been
but, like,
that.
You will
But
have
like
been.
in an alternate timeline in a different Spider-Verse where you guys never met, but Anna progresses the exact same way,
Right,
which
right.
doesn't make sense. But
Of
just,
course, yeah.
do you think that Anna would watch this movie on her own?
No, Anna never watches any movies on her own.
Okay, well, never mind then.
Don't.
That's I was trying to
That's-
prove you weren't the boyfriend, but I
But
guess you
I
are.
guess
Yeah,
you are
no,
the
I am.
boyfriend.
I
Listen,
also.
what's happened happened.
What's-
What's
I don't
happened
mean. I
happened.
don't
You're
know
the
if you're
boyfriend
listening
that-
right now, Anna. I don't mean to dunk on you, but you can't deny it's mostly true.
I see. I'm the exact same way, so it's fine. I
I've got.
haven't watched the third season of Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, and it's literally my favorite show, and I still haven't watched it. I'm pretty sure I
Um,
said this on the podcast already, which just
Do you
tells
guys?
I still haven't seen it.
Now that it is the new year, do you guys want to hear how many movies from 2020 I watched in 2020?
Yes. I'm actually curious.
Uh,
Because it's gotta
you
be
wanna-
so many.
do you want to guess?
I'm gonna guess
Five.
57.
Too low.
57 is too low.
Too low.
Bitch.
Oh my god! That's
It's
crazy!
Pretty substantially too low.
100.
200.
No, not 100. 88 movies.
That's my favorite number!
And there are still like 10 that I want to get to that I'll be getting to over the next few
I
weeks.
feel like you should at least get to 12 then. Make it a clean
Okay,
one
maybe.
hundo.
Because I haven't watched any of the small acts, all the small axes, the small axes, and I
The
haven't
small axes.
watched Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, and I haven't watched the new George Clooney movie, which I want to see.
I have a question.
What's up?
Does New Mutants count? Because it wasn't supposed to come out in 2020.
But it did come out in 2020.
I
come
know,
on
I know,
now.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. I just still feel bad for the New Mutant crew.
And the Tom Hanks movie, News of the World, where he's a cowboy. Tom Hanks cowboy movie.
And it's
Wait, I
not
just
Toy
wanted to say-
Story.
Wait, hold on.
Oh, that's
I just
fucking
wanted
true.
to
I guess I
say-
didn't even
hold
think
on,
of that.
Hold on. I just really wanted to say Gooey Clooney, and I didn't get a chance to say it.
Okay, why?
Oh no. I just really wanted to.
Gooey Clooney.
Gooey
I like it.
Clooney.
I feel like that would be a good name for like a teddy bear or a fish or something.
Right.
Yeah, Gooey Clooney instead of George
Gooey Clooney.
Oh, and I still gotta watch Possessor. Have you heard about Possessor?
I have
Yeah.
not.
Oh yeah.
It's David
Oh, yeah.
Cronenberg's son doing a weird psychological horror movie, and I want to watch it so
What is
bad.
it?
Dude,
What is it about?
It's real good. It's
Oh, have
real
you seen
good.
it?
Yes, I
Oh,
have.
I haven't seen it
give
yet.
it
It's
a
on my
thumb,
list.
About the horror.
thumbsy up. I love horror movies. That's why I'm sad that we lost my boy Spooky Show reviews so early.
Oh, right.
Because I like spook shows too.
Yeah, I love it when spook shows get reviewed.
Listen, I review spook shows all the time.
my day-to-day life. I'll just be walking around. I'll be like,
Possessor, good.
Shining, good.
Oh, and we can be heroes too. Okay, can I just say, compared to Spy Kids and Shark Boy and Lava Girl, We Can Be Heroes feels like the worst title in the history of mankind.
Yeah, it looks like it's got great production value though. Have you like seen
Yeah,
any of it though?
It's a Robert
Yeah.
Rodriguez movie. It looks good.
Yeah,
People say it's good.
Yeah, it looks like really good. Like, is it like marketed as like a kids movie or just like a regular movie?
No, it's like a goofy kids movie. It's a sequel to
Yeah,
Shark
I was
Boy and
about to
Lava
say,
Girl.
It
Adeline.
looks great for a goofy kids
The
movie.
adult reboot of Shark Boy and Lava Girl.
But just We Can Be Heroes is the most boring, generic, algorithm-ass title.
Well, it literally sounds like a anime that used to be a manga that's like gone through like 3 different titles that they then translated to English, you know? It
Yeah,
sounds
maybe.
exactly like that.
Okay, are we done?
Well, it sounds like My Hero Academia is what it
Yeah,
sounds like, because
maybe.
it's also a shitty title.
Okay, thank you guys for listening. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
And
Merry
we're gonna
Christmas.
stop the stream. I swear to God, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna stop the stream right now. 3, 2, 1.
Turn it off
Goodbye.
with the wall inside.
Oh wait, now. Goodbye. Okay, we're done.
Bye.
We're out of there.
All right, I know everyone's